Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'm a little late starting, but not as egregious as some other times. We are back with Stellaris. I know I've sort of shirked a little bit, but it was mostly so I could do Spinortality, and then obviously the Cross Country Canada was just a nice little chance for me to show you something fun. I was very encouraged by the fact that people sort of were so warmly responsive to it. So I will go back. I will do a proper playthrough of it, and I know I said that during the cast, but both live and off of cast, even if it's not like a comment, like there's a few people who watch the stuff who come up in person and say it when they like certain stuff. So there is definitely a lot of nostalgia for that game, it turns out, and people really want to see it. And most amusingly, it seems that everybody's everybody's experience really was having to figure the game out without the map, which was certainly my first experience with it. But my dad was a school administrator, so I did eventually get access to a map for it. All right, so we are still on Legin, to version 224. I believe 225 is in on the beta branch right now. I do need to apologize because I pushed out the Rhizome Capital Twitter account quite a bit, and obviously that is slumbering. One of the reasons for that is just because I save a lot of stories, but I don't have a very good pipeline to go from producing stuff in a game to sending it out to sort of my phone. So like my phone is the main device that I use for Twitter. And I use Hootsuite to do the timed releases and such. And for a while that was fairly straightforward to do. But what I've got right now is a lot of things that have happened in game that I sort of want to spin on that account. And it's just one of these things where, you do a full cast, and inevitably with Stellaris I go over because it's a great game and I always have a really good time with it. But it translates into little things like, I either need to rush to bed or I need to... Galva, you're always number one. I always appreciate that. I hope you are doing well. But yeah, it's just a little thing, it's little details like... so my view is that if I can go over a little bit, I will do that. But it also sort of means that when I finish a cast, I tend to run pretty quickly. I'll, eject myself out of the seat and I'll either go to bed or I'll, hop into another seat, which always doesn't feel good. But, I'll grab a book, or just generally I'll do whatever I had planned for after the cast right away. But, with that in mind, it means that all of those files saved on Steam don't get put into some sort of Dropbox or Google Drive or anything like that. And it takes me until the next week to realize, oh yeah, I didn't do any of those updates. And, obviously the Rhizome account hasn't had a lot of activity. So I apologize for that. I do want to turn it into a little bit of an archive for the... Sorry, one second, guys. Really need some water. But yeah, that's the only reason why there hasn't been activity on it. Obviously my ambitions for that have been cut back a little bit, but I sort of already covered that. That's less of a surprise. So Galva says, I forgot you do some Stellaris, haven't played it in a while, but enjoyed it. Yeah, I would recommend, if you have not played the game in a while, so this is going to be giving short shrift to games like Crusader Kings. And incidentally, I've been, especially this weekend, I was thinking a bit about some ways that I can possibly get... Holy smokes. I was thinking a little bit about how I can get some more... Crusader Kings done. I think I came up with some ideas, but I'll keep those under my hat until I'm well and truly ready to to go through it, go through with it. But where was I going with this? With Stellaris, so like Crusader Kings has been out for over 5 years now, and so the latest patch, Holy Fury, definitely found new things to sort of do inside of the game, but it's maybe I think sometimes the additions that get brought into Crusader Kings 2 are a little more subtle than I think people necessarily want. So we're sort of past the point where the map can expand, and I like things like Monks and Mystics, which allow you to just do some interesting things, particularly when, the game is maybe getting a little, getting into a little bit of a holding pattern or a wait. So all that sort of stuff I think is good, but unlike... if you compare that to Stellaris, which is still in sort of its earlier stages, like if you play the game now, like it's completely different from what it was at the beginning. And again, that's true for Crusader Kings as well, but each individual patch is just, it seems like it's totally transforming the game. We had Apocalypse, which, totally changed borders, totally changed FTL. We've got Megacorps here, which has added all of these pops and whatnot, and it's great. It's one of the reasons why I'm spending so much time on it. I actually need to find a way of properly balancing the other Paradox games now, because I've just been spending so much time on Stellaris. But that's a nice problem to have, because it really is a very exciting game. So anyways, I'm glad that you are up for it. Galva, Maka the Baka, good to see you. You've only dabbled in a tiny bit of the game since the big update, and how am I liking Megacorps? Well, as is always the case, and probably important to disclose, I was given a copy of this from Paradox. I'm always very grateful for the press keys that they send, so with that in mind, you may want to keep, you may want to sort of weight my enthusiasm accordingly. But I love the changes that came into the new patch, and it's important to note, when I say that, I mean, even the stuff that you get for free. This isn't a statement of like, oh, you have to buy Megacorps to like this stuff. It's really good. Like, I like the Megacorps. I'm playing one right now. But everything that was added in this patch, I was very fond of. It seems that there's a little bit of a feeling in at least a couple of the more sort of people who are more keyed into the meta than I am, that there seem to be some feelings that there were some unbalanced components in this particular patch. I don't really have any strong views on that, because I always play the single player, and I just, I'm just happy to be in the universe. But yeah, I am incredibly impressed. I mean, like, obviously for those of you, especially for those of you who've watched me do the Crusader King stuff, like, obviously I really like getting into econ and details like that. And so to have a game in which you are managing populations, you actually need to think about where you are putting your resources, and sort of thinking of some efficient allocations of the resources your society has. Like, this is catnip for me. I love this sort of stuff. So yeah, I think it's a great patch, and I'm really excited to be going a little bit deeper into this one. Yeah, the system limit size is one that I'm sort of pushing up against, and my answer has just been to try and produce through it. Obviously, I would love it if I could expand out to this system, which gives me alloys in space as well as another habitable planet. But at this point, I think I'm just going to fill in the holes that I have in my existing borders, and we'll maybe try and build up capacity, with what we have. So again, immediate threats. I do not have a navy that is strong enough to take out the neighboring marauders, and we are probably going to be getting to a point where a Great Khan can emerge probably sooner rather than later, and I don't have any good answers for it. The fact of the matter is, if the Great Khan emerges, I'm either going to lose a lot of territory, or I'm going to be vassalized very quickly. We don't have a lot to worry about with our neighbors over here. They do have an inferior fleet power to us, so if we wanted, we can sort of bully them. Where I would probably go with this, just to give you an example of sort of what my ideal sort of claim would be. It'd be something that looks like... so the moats here are particularly nice, obviously. But yeah, so the plan here would be to try and gobble up systems all the way up to here. Now, if I wanted, I don't need to be that, dramatic. What I could do instead is I could just make the claim on this single system here for 32 and take the moats. And not too much would really change. But one of the things that I need to keep in mind, and again, this is with the Empire Sprawl, every time I make an acquisition like that, I need to be thinking about what does that gain me overall. I don't really need that many more alloys. I still, I need to build up my naval capacity more than anything. So I'm not really all that eager to go to war because it'll cost me some influence, and I'm not entirely sure that what I'll gain from it is really worth it. So, K5, great to see you again. So, what are our plans in the intermediate term? Well, obviously to build up enough naval capacity to deal with the eventual emergence of the Great Khan. We've got a colony on Halvam shaping up, so good news there. Rogrilla, hopefully, yeah, our construction ship should be working on these resources already. I'll just get that out of the way now. So exploration is obviously a good sort of standing order to have. As far as colony ships are concerned, we've already got one at Halvam, and I think we'll probably expand out to Rogrilla as well. One of the drawbacks that I have here is I'm no longer able to colonize with robot pops. So I need to find some way of making Tundra worlds habitable for me. But that's an avenue that we can consider a little bit later. So I've been kind of going on this really rapid expansion, and it's something that I'd sort of like to continue on with. But clearly gaining more territory isn't going to mean that much unless I can really make it count as far as my resources are concerned. I do not. That's one of the songs from the Megacorp expansion, K5. So, in terms of things that'll be coming up as far as production is concerned, obviously consumer goods is going to be running short. Right now we have a lot of growth potential, but until our allies are able to get their populations where they need to go, I think I'm going to have to consider my own sort of my own production at home. And then Anchorage, I think we can build. Oh, do we not have the bonus to? Guess not. All right, well, we'll save that. So the last thing I kind of need to think about right now is where I'm going to be putting my star bases. On the colony obviously makes a lot of sense, but I think the other big one for me right now is I need to decide. I need to decide whether or not I'm going to be putting down some defensive structures on my borders. So I'm keeping the option open right now. Okay, so this just became a lot more attractive because of the exotic gases. Again, it's one of these ones where it's nice if I can take naturally occurring sources rather than use up what I can do. Just to give you an example of how precious these systems become all of a sudden, I could convert, let's say, the alloy foundry, and I could replace it with something. Oh, you know what? I probably didn't even build these structures, but there are ways of sort of generating these goods on your planets, but of course you only have so many of these special buildings, and so if you want to get, let's say, exotic gases,
Colonial enterprise established.
Awesome, that's a Gaia world too. So obviously, if you want to use that, you can. But the drawback is that you're going to be giving up a potentially cool source of other goods, and so you know, like for instance, in my own case, I would love to have these go towards consumer goods rather than sort of base materials that I'll be using for other things. So, well, I mean, the thing for me, K5, is that you know, Paradox has enough really cool games now, and the games take so much time to play that I think it's very reasonable to say that you have sort of your set of things you want to play. So for instance, I bought Golden Century, and I have not opened Europa Universalis since it came out. So it's possible to buy DLC. In my case, it's possible to buy DLC that you don't play, and I don't like doing that because I also have games that I haven't played yet. So unless the features of the expansion are something that you feel or something you like that will enhance your game right away, obviously it can sometimes make sense to hold off on the purchase. I know that's not always great on Paradox's side because they're a business and they need to have enough people to buy the game to justify the development that they're doing on it. But obviously not every patch is necessarily going to appeal to people. A good example of this would be Distant Stars. I thought that was a really wonderful little story pack, and I thought that it was priced rather well because it's obviously not as, you know, it's not as transformative as, say, Apocalypse or Megacorps. But the big thing for me is that the process of, you know, going from system to system to discover, you know, new worlds, new civilizations, to boldly go where, but basically like to, you know, to be able to have more things to do in that really core little, you know, that core activity that you're doing over and over and over again. You know, I think it's easy to say, oh, well, they're just adding more text to the game. It's like, yes, but that more text to the game is creating the fantasy that I am, you know, I'm engaging with. Like, it is the reason I am playing this game. So, you know, for me, I found it a remarkably satisfying little patch. But I still have people who say that they don't want to buy Distant Stars because they don't think it adds anything. You know, I'm like, well, you can read the patch notes, you can decide whether or not that's true. But yeah. Yes, I completely understand K5. And again, like, this is just it, right? Like the model. There's nothing that says to play a Paradox game you need to have every patch. Although if you wanna play around with some of the features, I know you can't like build a Megacorp species, but if you wanna try before you buy K5, feel free to, you know, we can talk about a multiplayer game. I can host you up here and you can experience it firsthand. Anyways, sorry for the delay there, folks. Let me just rearrange my windows. Okay, so let's take a quick look at the Veil. I think I have enough space to be able to just do new recruitment. So we've got an eager leader, but that's probably not the best. We'll go for somebody young and... okay, so I think Huckleberry Light is actually a good call here. That or architectural. Actually, you know what? So how many blockers do we have? Only one. So in this case, the architectural interest makes a little more sense because, of course, I'm going to be building on the planet. And it's, I mean, age 40, so... So they're hired. Enable Chalk VR to first-hand experience Megacorp. Alright, so the Veil, what do I want you guys to do? What is this planet good at? It's good at generating energy, good at generating minerals. Lots of districts available, amenities, housing. You know what, let's just start with building a couple districts. Or a district, rather. Okay, Pytham's got some available, oh, I didn't realize I was
Potential
on
market
pause.
survey completed.
All right, so I'm going to need to figure out what I'm doing with Pytham. This system, cool. I'm not going to spend too much time thinking about that one. All right, so realistically, more consumer goods is pretty important. The real question is there... Can I do better? Definitely good to be able to put down a Ministry of Culture. Unfortunately, they do take up consumer goods. So am I willing to run a deficit on consumer goods for a while? Because I mean, this is already sort of like a factory world. Yeah, you know what? I don't really care that much if it's a factory world. Okay, that solves that. I'm glad you like it, K5. I figure it's a didn't really, like, I didn't go in. So the funny thing was I didn't really know what I was gonna do as far as a stream title, and then I just thought, like, okay, well, I've got something that I can run with this. It's like, but New Deal, I don't know if that, does that really work? And then I was just thinking, the rest of it. I could have, of course, gone for Dill, which is a pun that I've done a couple of other times on the stream, but I figured, you don't have to, I don't have to oversell. Okay, so we can upgrade to a research complex. Now, this will absolutely devastate me for consumer goods, but it will just supercharge the amount of research that I get done. So we're gonna do this one at a time. I'm currently generating 5 exotic gases, and we will get... We'll potentially get one more online. I'm willing to expand out in order to get that. I want to be a little selfish about claiming those about claiming exotic gases, just because it's something that's going to allow me to do more research. But of course that comes at the cost of I'm going to need to generate more consumer goods, and I currently don't have any upgrades for those factories. Of course, you only get upgrades for those factories by generating research. So obviously with the rare crystals, similar idea, that I've got an important resource that I'm not exploiting at the moment,
Research
but I don't have a lot of free constructors. Okay, Interplanetary Research Institute, a bid for interplanetary resource pools and more flexible research grants. So you can do self-aware colony ships, 50% colony development speed. That's a little expensive for something that I'm really not getting that much out of. I was mentioning this before, so if I wanted to generate more volatile motes, I would be able to create chemical plants which will turn minerals into volatile motes. But the drawback here is that it doesn't just cost me the effort for research, but it also winds up costing me a slot. So it'll cost me the minerals for sure, but it'll also cost me the slot to actually make the chemical plant, whereas if I could just pick them up off the ground, that's better. Autonomous station protocols, so research station output would be kind of nice. Let's just take a quick look. It should give me a breakdown in terms of... Oh, I guess it doesn't anymore. So 68, 40, 42. So, I mean, we're basically... It's 26 months of research in order to get about 4 in each category. Shield capacitor, never bad to upgrade my fleets, especially with big bad marauders next door. And then hyperdrive. Now, hyperdrive is relatively inexpensive compared to the other things, and it will give me mobility across my ever-growing empire. So as much as I'd really like to do the autonomous station protocols, it is already the level 4, so I think I'm going to do hyperlane breach points. And my main argument for that one is to... we've identified the existence of points in space where the ship expends less energy to breach their way into the hyperlane. This will lead to a new generation of hyperdrives. So the argument for that one was more... I'm going to be running into problems of moving my fleets to where they need to be. Let's say that the Krabnar Marauders come rushing out, and that's when the United Scythian League decides that they want to cause some trouble. I'm obviously going to have to move my fleets fairly rapidly. Okay, what else can we do? I think I'll build a second city district on the Gaia world.
Market outlier identified.
Large impact crater has been discovered that does not seem to be a natural occurrence. Well, we'll research that. Now, this one will also wind up costing more gases, so we'll avoid that for now. One of my long-term goals as well is to sort of shift out some of my existing
Research actualized.
some of my existing infrastructure onto other planets, and this is just so that I can, so for instance, if I can convert this civilian industries into a research center, that's better because I have a leader who is good at giving a bonus to research, and obviously it's in sort of the home sector, which has currently got 4 planets inside of it, so there's a bonus that I can sort of give to everyone. A fleet does not run on zeal alone. To ensure steady access to critical supplies, we should organize our logistics core into dedicated support vessels. So this is a much needed boost to my my fleet cap. It's very tempting to go for clearing the tile blockers, but I want to see whether or not toxic kelp or the deep sinkhole is something that's going to give me that big of a bonus. So 1 toxic kelp, 1 sinkhole. Oop. Didn't know I could clear those. So we're 1 and 1, 2 for toxic kelp, 4 for toxic kelp. And it's pretty inexpensive, so the only other question would be, so obviously all of these we've already got some research towards, we don't need to worry that much about that. I've already got so I mean, I have the extra starbase capacity already, but it's been because I want to make sure that I have my options open for when I want to build them, so getting the extra starbase capacity would be nice. But in this case here, it doesn't take that long to research, and it really does give me access to more more material. So even for something like the Naval Logistics Office, which would really help me out with my my anchorages, this would be a really big bonus to put on a few of my bases. I'm sort of at a point on a few planets where I need to be able to put more people onto tiles to work them. So in this case, because it doesn't cost a lot, and I'll basically be able to work those new tiles fairly quickly. This seems like the better call. Again, I want to try and maximize as much production as I can in here. So if you, again, just a quick reiteration about what I'm trying to do here. So I've currently got a leader which gives me a bonus to research. So, and of course, at some point this person is not going to be leader anymore. But essentially what I want to do is I want to try and consolidate as much of the research as I can into the Rhizome capital system,
complete.
And sort of shift the production of goods off to these other planets. I'd like to sort of just do the transition if I can. It's hard to do. Because obviously these are all locked up. I don't think I have any research facilities on any of these other planets, for instance. But as far as a long run goal, I want to basically be in the Rhizome capital sector. If I can, I'd like to be able to have it be all Unity and research generating buildings. One other thing that I should consider, and I don't want to lose any of these other buildings, but what I could do... Let's say replace... And I did get a nice big fat research institute. So this is clearly something that I want to build in this system. The question is, do I want to try and replace one of the mega forges or one of the civilian industries with it? Or do I want to try... Actually, you know what? I'm going to go for it. Despite the recent skill improvements owing to accumulated experience, Governor Reed Oak seems to be approaching the limits of their capabilities. A shame. But yeah, I'm going to be really bold here. This is obviously going to throw me into a deficit, but we'll build a research institute. Because we've already got four...
Future market survey complete.
4 buildings going on this, and then we'll also upgrade... So here we're going pretty hard on the consumer goods.
Upscaling complete.
Okay, so let's build up our stations here first before we expand our borders.
Potential market survey completed.
And I've got idle science ships, which is never a good thing. So we'll automate you, and as for you... I'll automate them for now. It would be sort of nice to see whether or not I want to move through here, but... Alright, so given enough processing power, network sensors, and distributed stations, even the ocean currents can be managed to a fine level of control. Okay, so society research. What are we looking at here? So we're definitely generating the majority from researchers, so this would be a huge bonus to social. Commerce megaplexes. So this would use up the crystals that I currently have. They would be producing more trade value and amenities. It's tempting, I just don't think I have enough I don't think I have enough capacity to really be able to see the benefits of this, and it's obviously fairly expensive. Artificial moral codes is kind of nice. The crime I don't need to worry too much about, but having more amenities will make my planets more attractive, and obviously because I have more migration treaties, I want to make sure that I'm sort of competitive at bringing all these bodies in. In this case, though, because they're equal cost, I am going to take the time and go for xenobiology. And the main argument here is just this is a nice, like, this will improve the amount of research that I can do pretty substantially. So even if I don't get artificial moral codes again, I'm just going to be able to research so much more, and I want to be able to take advantage of that percent-based bonus as soon as I can. Okay, I should also start building some ships. So what are we looking at as far as our fleets are concerned? They've got 2 cruisers, 9 destroyers, 34 corvettes. Something tells me that's not really the ideal fleet composition, but it's what I went for apparently, so... Game's nicely reminding me that I have some blockers that I can clear. Let's just get them all dealt with. So something like, oh, my bad. I thought one of these was actually blocking a resource that I needed. Okay. Let's go to my main shipyard. My only shipyard, actually. So we've got a cruiser. I think I'll knock out 2 of those. those. I think I might have gone over my limit on that, but... I'll admit I'm a little surprised about the consumer goods. Oh yeah, I never did sort out what I was doing on YAML. So again, the ideal in this case is that I invest in research, and as a second best, Unity. Now, I am tempted to go for a Ministry of Culture because it'll give a bonus to the business management nexus while still generating social research. It will also put a little less pressure on my... It'll put a little less pressure on my my consumer goods for the next little while.
Research actualized.
So I think I'll do that.
Upscaling complete.
Okay, Hyperdrive 2. We can now do advanced research complexes. Well, I mean, that's... that's just really tempting me. Okay, so we've got experimental subspace navigation. Solitary science ships can break out of the naturally occurring hyperlanes and attempt to navigate known but otherwise unreachable destinations. That is definitely a tempting one. Plasma throwers will obviously improve my military, but I simply cannot resist a good advanced research complex, especially with the fact that Rowan Garland is already a computer expert. So to expand our knowledge base, we must consider all levels of existence. A new realm of science awaits us. So how are we doing on our exotic gases? We are rather improbably generating 5 still. I'm not convinced that that's true. It's like it says here my volatile
Upscaling
motes are
complete.
2, which would mean that I should be able to do an upgrade here. Oh, you know what? I think I'll give it a shot. I have sort of now realized the limits of my mineral extraction, though, so...
Upscaling complete.
let's get you to build a research station first. And... oop! Through hard work and experience, Governor Feldrim den Rothrog has developed new skills.
Research actualized.
Chief Executive Officer Bud Hawthorne has died at the age of 108. Family business. And it looks like the Hawthorne family is not under consideration for... the next leader. So we will not participate in any influence. We've got crystal infused plating. By infusing armor plating with crystalline matter, we are able to further increase the durability of our ship's protective hulls. Now this was a little bit of a flyer for me, but so I can deal with my intermediate term mineral shortage by going for deep core mining. I can also upgrade my... yeah, see, none of these are really exciting me right now. The engineering research is a big one for me. So I think I'm going to go for that one. 20% bonus to my... so one of the reasons why I went for this one as opposed to the others, engineering is my lowest rating, and it's the one that's affiliated with my military. So getting a 20% bonus to something where, you know, I'm generating 135 a month, being able to increase that by 20% is a pretty substantial gain to something that will allow me to do quite a bit of research. So I should probably address, you'll notice that I've never really influenced these elections, and the reason for this... So number one, I take a look at my existing candidates. So 2 of them are 77 and 75. So realistically, the duration of the bonus that I would get from these candidates are maybe not as long as I would think. So Reed Maple gets a leader experience gain. Now that's for everyone, so that's not terrible, but you know, not necessarily the most exciting Empire-based bonus that I could get. It is also worth mentioning, you know, in this case, there's the other traits that they have too.
A system has been surveyed.
I do want to keep an eye on these just in case there's like a resource that I want. And who got? So it is Reed Oak. We've elected Reed Oak, previously governor of Python Prime, to become the next ruler. Xenophile Ethics Attraction 10%. So bonuses to mining station output, very timely, and monthly minerals 10%. So in this case, we've actually got a really substantial bonus in terms of our mineral production right at the time that we needed it. And that was where I was going to try and go with all of this, is that I don't know exactly how it works, but let's assume because it was a leader who died, like there's no incumbent, let's assume that there's an even probability amongst all the different candidates. So the question is, you know, what bonus do I want? What's the chance of me getting it on my own? And is the influence cost really worth it to me? And right now, 200 influence is a lot. Like, it's almost 2/3 of my amount. It's over 2/3 right now. So given the fact that I do still want to fill in a few of the gaps in my empire, I just haven't really been able to find a time when hiring that kind of a ruler, I just haven't quite been able to justify the cost yet. But obviously, if there was somebody who gave me a big science bonus or something like that, I would consider it. But I mean, Xenophile Ethics, it's not the worst thing in the world, and to get such a big bonus to mining is obviously a pretty big one. So, but in the meantime, I am going to need to hire up some new governors. So, all right. So this will be on the industrial world of Python. So if I can do something to help the generation of, nope, I cannot. So in this case, we'll just you know, in a pure statement of nepotism, pure display of nepotism, we will hire the young Olive Oak as the new governor. Their only real merit is the fact that they will work cheap. You got a robocall about Reed Oak, said they were gonna they're gonna fix immigration. Okay, so I screwed up on Rhizome Capital. Apparently I have got an unemployed pop. That's probably gonna be... Wait, what? Ah, specialists who are unemployed. So they'll be demoted to a regular worker in 1791. But the research complexes are being... Yeah, okay. That sort of makes sense. Because I think what happened was I probably opened... Yeah, I opened a new role of science director. So I think... So researcher jobs +5. This will be done in 309 turns, so the currently unemployed workers will be rehired.
Future market survey complete.
This barren and lifeless world is showing signs of once having supported a biosphere. Okay, apparently I'm still generating more motes and more gases. I have no idea why, but
Upscaling complete.
Now, the other thing that I
Upscaling
want to do,
complete.
seeing as Halvam... Okay, I think I'm okay with that. Terraforming candidate discovered. Our detailed survey of Atlas 8 has revealed that it may have once supported life in the distant past. There are significant deposits of frozen water at the polar ice caps and beneath the planet's surface. The existence of valley networks suggests that the water may once have flowed freely. Terraforming this planet would be theoretically possible, but we do not yet possess the technology to accomplish this monumental task within a realistic time frame. So obviously, we're
Upscaling
we're a fair
complete.
distance away, as well technologically, as well as physically. So it's pretty unlikely we'll see anything come out of that. But where was I going with all of this? So I am tempted to build a base at Halvam, because it gives me 17 trade value, and it's not so far away from Hithrem. Like, I'm fairly certain I would be able to build out some capacity in terms of suppressing the pirates. Esteemed Chief Executive Officer Reed Oak, a decade ago, the Rhizome Capital pledged to support the Artisan Troop, and so you have. The time of your patronage is coming to an end, but we would be remiss not to ask. Would you care to renew your subscription to the finest arts and crafts in the galaxy? It is a deal. Alright, so this station has got a missile battery and a hangar bay going for it, so it should be able to cover Halvam. The only thing that it won't cover is
Outlier identified.
canyons deep enough to be seen from orbit furrow the surface of Atlas 4A. The planet is dry as a dust bowl. What
Upscaling
could have happened
complete.
to the water that once so profoundly carved Atlas 4A's stone? I'm actually thinking it might be an idea if I switch out the anchorage.
Upscaling complete.
And I give them another trade hub. It's a little counterintuitive. So this technically lowers my military, but what this does is this prevents me from
A system has been surveyed.
building a dedicated starbase just on Halvam. And what I get to do instead is I get to gobble up the trade value. So in this case, we'll think about the logic here, right? I've got I've got 17 trade value, so it's something that I want. The question is, do I want to dedicate a base to it? Because if I dedicate a base to it, it also means that I need to defend it. Now, if I build that base, I'm within, 1 unit of also being able to claim Dorelion, for instance. And there's nothing that stops me, if I want, I could actually... See, now I'm second guessing myself, because if I put a base here, I'd actually be able to put a shipyard there, and that would sort of cover me on this border. Following a thorough investigation of Atlas 4A, the RCA Hemivalis crew has confirmed that the planet used to be covered in flowing water several billion years ago. However, the geochemical composition of the planet's basalt crust proved highly hydrophilic, so much so that Atlas 4A's thirsty rocks eventually absorbed and bound all the water on its surface. Now all that remains of these vast oceans are salty brine streaks lining Atlas 4A's numerous canyons. Science Officer Ash Oak adds that the mineral hydrates now dominating Atlas 4A's landscape could have many valuable industrial applications. I have heard, there's this audio file I heard called like Tube Bar, which apparently that's supposed to be what those Simpsons references are. Like all of those the Mo Bart exchanges are supposed to be based off of this this like really surly bartender named Red, who had these guys prank calling him. I'll explain why I switched that around. But yeah, it's been a really long time since I've seen The Simpsons, but now that you're making me think of that, every time I see Flow Freely, I'm gonna think of the prank. All right, studying the life that arises on other worlds and beyond allows us to understand the fundamental aspects of biology that were previously beyond our reach. So again, I always have these options down below. But the ability to terraform, that's... Man, I have got a lot of really good options here. So atmospheric filtering is very tempting just because habitability will make my planets more desirable. It'll potentially give me access to just more in general. But honestly, the ability to terraform planets at this point, I pretty much have to run with it. So 19 months before I can start reshaping the world in my image. Let's take Yogrilla. We will colonize it with my people. This planet offers low habitability for the selected species. Well, no, we're still going for it. So the aim here is going to be, if I can, to try and terraform as many of these planets into something that will, first of all, lower my resource costs if I can do it on planets that I already own. And then on top of that, to be able to just get more people working and producing the resources that I need. But I do have a pretty big problem with my consumer goods right now. I've clearly the bills coming due on replacing my civilian factories and upgrading my research facilities. Okay, so like I said, I do not want to...
Market outlier identified.
Scanners indicate the sandy dunes of Atlas 7 are almost entirely composed of granulate rare metals. Perhaps some valuable resources could be extracted from them. Go for it. In this case, I'm going to bunt a little bit. Oh, no, I can't. Okay, so in this case, I am going to go for research labs. Alright, so why did I change my mind with regards to building a station in this system? So the original logic that I had was this. It's like, okay, well, I'm going to pay in terms of fleet capacity by converting this anchorage into a, converting this anchorage into a trading hub, but what it will allow me to do is claim the 17 trade value. The RCA Hemivalis crew is excited to report an unanticipated find on the surface of Atlas 7. Not only are there plentiful sand dunes on the planet composed of rare metal granulate, the sand itself is almost entirely composed of countless broken nanites. These microscopic machines are millions of years old, their structure degraded far beyond the chance of reactivation. While we cannot determine a source of origin for these nanomachines, the society that created them must have been highly technologically advanced. Science officer RCA Hemivalis postulates that the nanites may have been used to terraform the surface of Atlas 7 millions of years ago. So 4 minerals on a planet we almost certainly won't colonize, 250 engineering research, and another L-Gate insight. So this is all happening over here.
Potential market survey completed.
Delicious poisonous alcohol. Although I'm just drinking water right now, so I can go for the stronger stuff if the Great Khan shows up. God, this is a pretty game. But yeah, so the idea here was that I could gobble up the 17 trade without having to build a dedicated station. Building the dedicated station would really I mean, if I built one trade facility, I would get access to 2. If I built 2, then that would give me another 2. It would take me 3 to be able to really take advantage of this one here, and it's just not worth it, in my opinion. Detailed surface scans of Mivans 2A have identified a large impact crater containing the wreckage of several ancient starships of unknown design. The ships appear to be completely devoid of life support systems, leading us to suspect that they were all either unusually large drones or controlled by some form of artificial intelligence. Interestingly, the hull of the ships was constructed out of living metal, an exceedingly rare and inorganic material with many unique properties. This metal can be programmed to assume a certain shape or form, and it will slowly regrow itself if damaged. Over a period of several millennia, the surviving metal from the wrecked ships was fused into a large and extremely dense deposit that could be potentially mined for centuries to come. So, that's a little far out for me, but not impossible, especially because I would sort of like to be able to expand out to claim this black hole. Actually, all of these, because they've got L gates.
Future market survey complete.
You know, I think I'm just going to have to admit, so I do have this big deficit for consumer goods. So at this point, let's add a monthly trade for consumer goods. That's going to be a big hit that we take to our energy, but the production and understanding of supersolids are of immeasurable value to any and every space-age civilization. Okay, so I don't think I'm quite ready for Star Fortress. I'd love Star Fortresses, but I think I need to think a little bit more about where I'm going with all of this. Still quite expensive to get living metal. So I'm not entirely convinced the mineral purification plants are what I really need, but they are the least expensive, and I think in this case I'm going to sort of kick the can down the road and take the 9 months. The Eyes of Sin, you finally finished your chores. I'm glad to hear that, but how are you feeling? I know you finished your chores. Are you feeling all right? I'm very happy to see you here. I also forgot to do my upgrades, so I'll wait until these are done before I build anything else. How are the space corporations thriving? They are thriving. A little bit better than the succulent I have right now, but hopefully that with a little water that guy's gonna come back to life. Okay, it's about 90 energy that we're spending to cover our consumer goods. It's not as bad as what it should be, or as what I thought it might be. Now again, this is not going to get me off the hook as far as you know, building any more consumer goods are concerned. I am still going to focus on that, but again, I want to make sure that where I can, I'm going to be rebalancing my sort of my primary sector to be sort of a research powerhouse to make sure that we're able to keep our edge. Speaking of, to expand our knowledge base, we must consider all levels of existence. A new realm of science awaits us. So this is definitely something I was very enthusiastic about. I think for now, as much as I'd love all of these advanced technologies, I think I'm going to try and mop up some of my my lesser ones, and let's throw in that upgrade right away.
Upscaling complete.
So it says I have 5, so...
Upscaling complete.
Okay, so I've got a free construction ship. I never finished the thought about the Halvam station. I'll get onto that in just a second. We will throw you over there first. So, trade value is good. That'll get me energy.
Upscaling complete.
But what I'm particularly interested in, the RCA Teomora Mavis has successfully restored power to the automated shipyard over Yiva 5A. The facility immediately resumed its interrupted construction order, using what materials it had on hand to build 3 advanced raiders of an unknown design. Unfortunately, the ancient facility broke down completely afterwards and has been deemed beyond repair. We have sent crews to the new ships and commissioned them into our fleet. Cool.
A system has been surveyed.
So basically, for money, it makes sense for me to, to take this system. And obviously I can build space stations in any other region. That's maybe a bit better for defense. So for instance, I could put one in the Eunuch system. Or perhaps I want to set up some bases, next door to where the raiders might come from. All of these are, very reasonable protective measures that I might take. So the reason that I went for this one here was that this is a pretty desirable planet, so it makes sense for me to have some kind of a star base which is kind of capable of defense. The other thing that I kind of want to do is, in this case, I am going to build the trade hub and the... good question. Do I want to do the... I think in this case I'm going to build a missile battery. I will eventually upgrade this to a starhold because the purpose was to make a shipyard. But basically, the one thing I really wanted to do was have a shipyard on sort of the other side of the Empire. So Equity is sort of in the middle. We've got one in Halvam, and then we might put one out here depending on whatever opportunities come up. But basically, I have a few other options available to me now. So maybe I'll gobble up some more trade. Maybe I'll get some anchorages down. But in the end, I've ultimately got sort of a hard point now. It is also a choke point. Now, it doesn't help me that much in terms of defending any of these other territories. But Halvam is going to be a spot where I'm going to be able to sort of defend against any incursions if it comes down to it. Okay, so we lost my physicist. The time has come, Basil Maple. And we will hire a new junior member. Alright, now I have no idea why this construction ship is here. Oh, yes, I remember why now. Because that was how I got those special ships. Let's get you expanding out to the Capella system. That's so I can take advantage of the gases. Again, the critical point here, I'm willing to incur the penalties for expanding because this is a pretty vital pretty vital resource towards research. If I had the ability to mine living metal, this would be another great example of a place that I would actually do some pretty heavy I would earn some pretty heavy sprawl being able to claim, just because it's a fairly desirable resource for me to take. But yeah, anyways, the reason why I flipped around on this, there's less of an argument for having this base here, save for the fact that it does help defend my trade routes right now. I guess I don't really need the hangar bay. I'll stick with it for now. Okay, so why did you get mad? Oh, because I didn't get as a scientist. Okay, Genius is nice. They're a little older. I think a 30-year-old, well, no, I gotta go for the Genius, I think. So, Eyes of Sin. It just occurred to me, I read Galva's comment and immediately my thoughts turned to Eyes of Sin.
Future market survey complete.
If I bought you a very nice bundle of flowers, or chocolate, or a very good book, what would it take to get you to play Stellaris again?
Research actualized.
Optimal processing of mined materials have allowed us to reach new levels of efficiency. So again, this was a bit of one to just kick the can down the road so that I could get some easy research wins. Weather control systems is kind of nice because it'll give me some more district housing. Alloy nanoplants. I mean, it's really good for alloys, and apparently I have the moats to go to... See, this one's actually really tempting because this will allow me to scale down my the number of alloy buildings that I have and convert them into more research buildings. But in this case, for the next little while, I'm actually going to go for some of the cheaper ones. So in this case, we'll get for the extra housing. And again, it's not so much that I've got like a major... Lumpy Space 88, thank you very much for that, host. I hope you're doing well. I got to, oops, sorry, I'm making a mess with my microphone. Got a chance to see you in Johnny's channel a little while. I was obviously kidding when I said I needed to GTFO. Very lovely to see you as always. Hey, Inigo Karen. All the cool people are coming in right now. Now actually seems like a good time to get a few shout outs in. So, I will say, I don't know when or how, but I'm going to conduct a campaign of psychological warfare to get the Eyes of Sin to come and co-cast on a stream with me, because she gave me some very sweet comments about the co-cast that I did with Johnny Big Time, and she really encouraged me to do something like that again. But the Eyes of Sin is a really talented caster in her own right. One little funny anecdote I have about it, which I have told before, I knew that she was going to be streaming one day, and I thought, the volume's where it is. I don't know. Should I turn the music up, guys? I really like this song. This is the Apocalypse one. But anyways, Eyes of Sin was going to do a broadcast. It was her first in a while. And I was sort of sitting there like, I sort of thought that it was something along the lines of like, oh, it's her first broadcast ever. I'm going to come and, host and be supportive for this person who's, who might have like nobody showing up or something like that. And when I get there, she has like double the number of people I get on a good night, like within minutes of opening the broadcast. So while I thought I was maybe doing her a bit of a favor, it turns out that she knows a lot of people on Twitch. She is a very fun caster. She's sometimes maybe a little self-conscious, but she is incredibly charming. She plays stuff that she loves. She also plays little kind of rarities that not everybody gets to see. So she does a great job of finding some niche games which she loves very much and plays them. And sometimes she'll do stuff like Pokemon, something more in the mainstream too. But she is a bit of a hidden gem on Twitch, and definitely somebody who I'm very happy to see in chat each time. But I figure if I shout her out enough times, I'll get a chance to see her on broadcast as well, because she happens to be a very comely streamer as well. So naturally, I'd love you all to have a chance to see her. Not to be outdone, we've got Lumpy Space, 88th of his name. And I always kind of give this disingenuous kind of Lumpy Space. It's maybe not entirely disingenuous, but basically it's a shout out which is based not so much on my ability to see them on a regular basis as it is just sort of the fact that I know that they are broadcasting. And they've been doing Mortal Kombat pretty consistently, to my recollection. I don't think I've seen them do anything else. But definitely somebody who I've known through Johnny Big Time's channel, and as I'm really fond of sort of saying about a lot of shoutouts, one of the reasons why I want to take the time and talk about some of these broadcasters. Number one, there's a lot of people on Twitch, and there are a lot of broadcasters who will do a shout out and say, oh, hey, you know, this person hosted me. Yeah, you got to check them out. Followers are free. You know, they're the best person ever. And of course, you know, repeat that however many times somebody gets hosted. And apparently there are now N people who are the best ever. And let's face it, like, your time is valuable. Everybody sort of knows the game, and it's very hard to see how hi, Lumpy Space hosted me, and I'm going to feel like a dick if I don't say something about them, so go follow them. That kind of a pitch is not really going to convince anyone but the most enthusiastic Twitch participants to check out a stream. So one of the reasons why I try and take the time on a broadcast to do these kinds of shout outs and such is that I cannot necessarily know what your tastes are. But what I can do is I can speak to reasons why I like watching particular broadcasters. And sometimes for people who maybe don't broadcast as often, or people who I don't get the chance to see as often as I do, instead of pretending that I saw, whatever their last cast was, although I guess in my own case I don't actually have the little alert that says the last game that they were playing, I get a chance to sort of speak to their character. Because one of the things that's really nice about Lumpy Space is I've gotten to know them much better through Johnny Big Time's channel. And Johnny Big Time, as I've always said, is my favorite caster on Twitch. He's got a tremendous, sense of humor. He's got a great camera presence. But on top of that, he's got a fun community to hang out with. And Lumpy Space is absolutely a member of that. And so one of the things that I always sort of like thinking is that, not everyone needs to broadcast. Twitch is a lot of things. Twitch is moderators. Twitch is viewers. Viewers are incredibly important because obviously when new people come and check out the channel, and if there's activity going on inside of chat, they're more likely to stay. If there's activity going on in chat, they're more likely to participate in chat, and they're more likely to stay. If people are friendly inside of chat, they'll feel welcome, they're more likely to stay and come back. And that benefits me. It's not just that I like being able to interact with people, it's the fact that it's one of these great ways that, speaking of people who I really like, it's one of these really great ways that sort of a channel can grow, and that's by having nice people sort of be great ambassadors for the channel. That's one of the reasons why, even though I don't know Lumpy as well as I would like as far as a broadcaster is concerned, I feel really safe being able to do those shoutouts for you, because Lumpy Space has made Johnny Big Time's channel so pleasant to be in for me. And in the end, again, not everybody necessarily needs to broadcast on this, but when somebody who has been absolutely pleasant to hang around with inside of a chat decides to go and hit that start streaming button, there's somebody who I want to keep coming back to, because obviously there is a certain character that's been demonstrated that way. So this is one of the reasons why, again, I know some people get a little, a little frustrated when I sort of put the game on hold for a bit to be able to talk about some of these other broadcasters, and especially during like things where I have something that hasn't been released yet. It really does bug people not to see constant gameplay the whole time. But I think it's an important habit to carry forward, because I don't know, like I would hope that if my stuff isn't quite for everyone, that at the very least I can maybe point them towards something that they might enjoy more. So speaking of stuff that you might enjoy more, I mentioned him before. You speak his name and you get the host. Johnny Big Time himself is in the channel. He was doing The Witcher 2, which I got to see all of 15 minutes before saying, CD Projekt Red game, they own GOG. Screw those guys. No, I was already late broadcasting, so I wanted to come in, wave the flag, show Johnny I cared, and then go off and do my own thing. And naturally, I was sure to say inside of chat, "Hey guys, starting my own stream, much better than him." be sure to stop by and like and subscribe if you can. Your internet exploded. I'm sorry, Johnny. But no, Johnny Big Time, a man so good at what he does. Oh, did I really screw that up? A man who has his own bot command. Yeah, Johnny is an absolutely incredible caster. I already said a lot of it before, but I might as well say it again. He is incredibly charismatic. He is an incredibly friendly guy. He is somebody who also handles more frustrating members of a chat better than I do. But one of the things that's really great about Johnny is that he can play anything. He definitely has his preferences for games, and sometimes there's quite a bit of daylight between the stuff I like and the stuff Johnny likes. But when we've been able to co-op things, and when we've been able to sort of find some common ground on some games, they are among some of my favorite times in gaming. And I think it really speaks to some of the reasons why I like him as a broadcaster as well, because I think Johnny is one of these people who really does capture that experience of like being on a couch with a good friend and experiencing the game together. Obviously the better games for the couch are like couch co-op games, but there would sometimes be like a friend who it's good to, you would be willing to watch them play a single player game because they're just so good at it, or because, they've always got something clever to say or something like that. And Johnny, again, one of the most consistent streamers I know in terms of the quality of his delivery. He has done, I can't remember a bad cast that he's done, if he's ever done a bad cast. I know there are ones where he's been pretty clearly frustrated with what's going on, and yet he's somehow been able to turn that into a reasonably entertaining experience. Like I said, incredibly friendly guy, incredibly supportive guy, and somebody who just, I'm don't mind admitting, like, I have watched him play a couple of games, had the absolute time of my life, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna buy this and stream this now, because he is, he's that good. I will admit, one of the things I really want to see him do is the first mission for Battlefield 5. But I know the Battle Royale mode is coming up soon, so we'll get a chance to see him play some Battlefield 5 again. And if he gets too tired of team-based Battle Royale, he'll maybe try the single-player experience. Anyways, I don't want to fill all the busters too much further, but 3 absolutely wonderful broadcasters who I hope you take a chance on, take a look at their stuff, see if it's for you. And if you happen to like my own things, well, you'll get a chance to see them right now. But let me just catch up with chat first. I did it too late, Johnny. Now you have to walk over here for yourself. All right. And you appreciate the kind support, Chalk Bag. No, not a problem at all, Lumpy Space. I know it's a little weird to, because like I'm not like, I tried to play Mortal Kombat on PC, but it wouldn't do what I wanted. Like, it felt like the controller wasn't very responsive, or maybe I'm just bad at fighting games, but I don't know that much about the game, so I'm not really able to articulate as much as I would like about your broadcast. But the thing about this is that I don't just shout out anyone. I mean, I think Johnny might be the person who still remembers this, but there was a time when I was a member of a stream team, and there was sort of this unspoken rule of like, you had to be supportive of everyone. Like, even if it was somebody who you didn't like that much, like somebody could like rat you out for like, oh, they didn't give me a shout out when I visited their channel or something like that. It was really dumb. Like Johnny can tell you, so the way that I handled that was that, so for most, you guys know the types of shout-outs that I do. And, somebody like Johnny comes in and I give this big, passionate, oh, he's, such a great streamer, amazing sense of humor, so on and so forth. And then these people who are, just doing the rounds for their little shout-out or whatever. I would quite literally say something effective, yeah, so-and-so is on my, is on the stream team, I'm on this, this is a shout out for them. Factually correct statements, but they never hung out in my channel enough to realize what a shout out from me really sounds like. And everybody who was present knew everything they needed to know about that particular shout out. So there are some people in the channel who can 100% say, I don't do that for everyone. But one of the ways that I am able to sort of, be genuine in terms of showing some support to casters who maybe I don't know as well as I would like, is that I get to speak of their character inside of a chat, because I really do think that that is a good leading indicator of the type of person that they are on a broadcast. So, anyways, with that in mind, an unknown signal, a weak but insistent signal, transmits on repeat in the Merope system. The RCA Mero Tapanis has pinpointed its source to emanating within the mouth of the destabilized subspace rift at the system's edge. What could be on the other side? Yeah, obviously I'm not a member of a stream team anymore, but
Market outlier identified.
the barren and lifeless world is showing signs of once having supported a biosphere. And I mean, again, like, if it really came down to it, like, I actually don't feel too many hang-ups about, saying, I just don't like this person that much, and, giving you my reasons why. But I'm also not entirely sure what I gain from doing that. So, and there's certainly, if you hang around Twitch enough, you'll definitely know the type of people who want to say either a class of streamer or a particular individual and speak ill of them. And I'm not entirely sure what the benefit to that is. Because, I just, it's a very small world, and it's not that hard for word to get around that you are that type of person. And in the end, I'm not entirely sure that I benefit a lot from just sitting down and venting about somebody who I don't like very much, because there are games that I like, and there are streamers that I like, and that is a much better conversation topic to bring up. Now, if I think I have something of substance to say about it, sure, there are definitely certain takes, or there are certain behaviors which I think are very negative, and if I feel that there's something productive that I can say about that, then I don't mind, I don't mind sort of issuing forth on the subject, but I'm just, I'm not entirely sure that there's really any benefit to me saying is like, oh yeah, Johnny, that scumbag, what he said the other day? What a moron, Oh man, did you see him miss that really easy headshot? It's like, I don't know why he plays Battle Royale. Like, what do I benefit? By the way, all totally not true. Johnny would kick my ass in any video game. If talks shout is sub 5 minutes long, you should probably avoid them. Yeah, so that's the one problem. This is one of the reasons why I actually didn't tell that story earlier. If I give a short shout out to someone, it might also be because I've hit one of these little black hole moments where I'm really talking a lot and there's less gameplay going on. So, the big thing is the thing I try to do the most on a shout out, it's like any kinds of salesmanship. You've kind of got like a call to action and a value proposition. Why should you watch Johnny? Because he is a hell of a lot of fun to watch. Like, if you want a good chuckle, if you want to see somebody who can do some of the best smack talk on Twitch, you need to check out Johnny big time. Like, that's a really easy way. Now, again, because I'm really verbose, that sometimes translates into like a 20-minute shout out. And I don't mind doing that because, again, Twitch is more than just like a constant stream of gameplay. Definitely this channel, that can be said. So you can do that in even like a 3-minute comment or something like that. But yeah, so it's not even necessarily a length thing, but like obviously, if like when I say so-and-so is on a stream team that I am on, That's really, like, that's all that I can say about them. I can't tell you the types of games that they play. I can't tell you, you know, that they've actually got an amazing sense of humor. Like, you guys are pretty sharp. I mean, you all watch Paradox games, right? So, and I mean, if somebody, this is the big thing, if somebody were to check them out on the basis that that shout out and they actually really enjoy it, like, I'd be surprised, but I'm not going to begrudge one of my viewers a chance to watch something they like, you know. So, you've laughed in Johnny's stream more than anything in life. Yes, Johnny is a really funny guy. Instructions are clear. Chalk just called for chat to go smack talk Johnny big time to derail his channel so you can hear smack talk replies. I think if I endorse that, I am in violation of Twitch's terms of service. So, we bring alarming news, shareholder friends. Contact with our colony in New Baldorak has been lost. They no longer respond to any of our satellite transmissions, and we fear the worst. Perhaps that... The exception, continuing with this rather infuriating habit that Twitch has been giving me of saying that everybody's 0 months in a row. I don't know if this is because you need to click the report the number of months or if this is just something that I'm seeing, but the exception, thank you very much for resubscribing. You are a gentleman and a scholar. We actually had a nice little bump in terms of the subscriptions from some time back. Like, I went from like sort of the valley of despair where I thought I'd hit like a permanent new low, and then all of a sudden we're back to sort of the old highs that the channel used to have. So thank you very much. I love it when you guys use those emotes because Eyes of Sin did a hell of a job on it. I still need to finish my Game Jam project, but actually the Game Jam sort of inspired something in me. And if I can get a fun game behind it, I actually came up with an idea that I want to try and get Eyes of Sin to do some art for. So yeah, the more you guys use those emotes, the happier I am, and the more I want to do that game idea. But yes, thank you very much, The Exception. I hope you're well, and you're all lovely people. Okay, New Baldorak. Perhaps the aliens who bombarded our original homeworld have returned to finish the job. Please send a ship to investigate. So for those of you who do not know, this is about the 8th time they've gotten in touch with us to asking for a favor, so we will dispatch a ship at once.
Situation log revised.
Excellently. Hopefully it's just a faulty transmitter. All right. What ships do I have in the area? Not much. All right.
Research actualized.
See you in a bit, Ego Karen. All right, so I guess we were going down the Harmony path. So I can boost my leader lifespan. That would be particularly good for my my science leader. Let's see how much time they have. What the hell's going on here? Overcrowding. This planet lacks enough housing for everyone. Ooh. Mythbuster, thank you very much for that follow. Obviously, I'm spending too much time rambling, so I appreciate you doing that. Okay, so Rose Maple, let's see what the deal is with you. Age 61, so it'll probably take me at least 10 years to get the next Harmony level. So time it takes for unemployed pops to demote to a lower stratum is reduced by 50%. We need to worry too much about that. The greater good, governing ethics attraction, is increased by 25%. That will unlock the utopian dream, reduce amenities usage. It's a pretty big efficiency, to be honest. But I'm going to lock in mind and body. So by embracing a combination of new meditation techniques and healthier eating habits, a large segment of our population enjoys a greater life expectancy than ever before. So that's sort of an investment in my people. Oh, actually, I'm going to be generating that faster than I thought I would. And then I think what we'll do is we'll head down the greater good utopian dream, and then we'll finish with kinship and the bulwark of harmony. Oh, and we've got research. So there is no simple solution to the problem of macro-scale reshaping of planetary crusts, only bigger trowels and orbitably deployed drills. Orbitally. Right. I'm always tempted to clear out these when I can, but we've also got impassable mountains, steep sinkholes, which will be pretty easy to... those will be pretty easy to research. Okay, how many holes, how many mountains? One mountain, one hole. Two mountains. Governor Olive Oak has gained the well-earned reputation as a crime fighter. They have publicly vowed to root out corruption and injustice wherever it might be found. They now have the righteous trait. Our detailed survey of Aranis 7 has revealed that it may once have supported life in the distant past. There are significant deposits of frozen water at the polar ice caps and beneath the planet's surface. The existence of valley networks suggests that the water may once have flowed freely. Terraforming this planet would be theoretically possible, but we do not yet possess the technology to accomplish this monumental task within a realistic time frame. Now, speaking of terraforming, so Gaia worlds... I don't think I can get rid of the weak magnetic field yet.
Research actualized.
Auxiliary fire control by installing auxiliary God damn it. Fire control systems. Our ships can afford to make more advanced calculations, increasing accuracy. I do really like my sensors, but let's go for the cheapest stuff I can, and in this case, it's chemical plants. I want to try and clear out some of the low-hanging fruit. So also, I want to try and so I'm not 100% clear on how terraforming works. Wait, do I even have the technology yet? Yeah, I just got it. Ah, there it is. This doesn't actually say why I can't terraform it, though. Presumably because it has people on it, so... Ah, okay. I don't think we have the ship on its way yet, so let's... Okay, so your gorilla is only 10. This is 12. So what I want to do now is I actually want to try... So ideally, I'll find these clusters of planets that I want to inhabit. So obviously all of these are pretty good. So this... Maybe the individual planets are not that attractive, but the fact that they'd all sort of be in one sector makes this attractive. Similar idea here. This would be within... Oh, no, it wouldn't be. Well, I mean, it would be with an existing system. So this is my largest option here. Oh, nope, this is my largest, but it's also kind of out of the way. So what's it going to cost me to convert an Arctic planet? 5,000? Chump change. So I do know we used to have a colony ship on the way, so... Once you terraform one, you kind of have to... Okay. Obviously, I need to hold off on that because I'll have some expenses coming up in the future, but the main reason I did those, so this one is large. These other two are, well, I mean, 18's not terrible, but obviously these are really far out of the way. These are within the sector that contains Halvam. I'm also already going to be colonizing one of these planets already. This also gives me a reason to expand out through Vun, Kesso, Ulyss, and then finally Zorf. But yeah, basically I wanted something that would give me sort of my own sectors to work with, and then I wanted something which was just a nice big planet, to be honest. Like, no, there wasn't a whole lot of rhyme or reason other than that. We are receiving a transmission from the Independent Space Station of the Curator Order. They appear to have successfully translated our language. Greetings, Star Travelers. We are the Curators. Our ancient order was established eons ago by the various galactic powers and ascendancy at the time. We were dedicated towards the preservation of all knowledge in an effort to safeguard the galaxy from descending into another dark age of mass extinctions and barbarism. We failed. Few of us remain today, but we are no less committed to our sacred mission than our predecessors were. We are willing to share some of our knowledge with you for a price. Well met. Now, these guys seem to be more expensive than they used to be. So I'm not 100% convinced that I'm going to be getting a deal with them, but let's see what we can find here. So, can you aid us in our research? Of course, we're prepared to offer you limited access to our extensive databanks for a period of 10 standard years. This should provide a significant boost to research on your planet-side science labs. You'll require compensation for this service, naturally, but I think you'll find that our prices are very reasonable. 4,000? We can definitely pay that, so a wise choice that future generations of shareholders will no doubt laud you for. So we'll just leave it for there. This is going to be a little bit more of wealth building for the next little while. What else can we do?
Future market survey complete.
So again, this is kind of more exploration for the sake of it at this point. I don't necessarily want to expand out to any of these systems so much as I want to sort of close up any remaining gaps. I've rather foolishly forgot to gobble up this this area. Where did I put that ship?
Upscaling
Okay, so he's on his
complete.
way. And then we'll send... I might as well.
A system has been surveyed.
Actually, I kind of screwed that up. Yeah, I'll leave it be for now. Okay, we'll get this one just to do with the automated exploration. At this point, I don't have any real serious plans for my science ships. Yes, there's actually a bunch of on the wiki. You can actually see all of the different
A
different
system
names.
has been
Oh.
surveyed.
I wasn't paying attention to my colonies, and we have unemployment. So what am I running low on? I mean, it never hurts to have more money. So we'll do a generator district and another housing district.
Outlier identified.
This barren and lifeless world is showing signs of once having supported a biosphere. Okay, so 2 more, but we'll get an alert before that. 4 and 4, that's not good. So let's get you to build another city. I'm gonna need to come up with some more jobs for these guys. So let's say it's a tough call. I think. Okay, I don't have the minerals for it. So. Chemical plants. Aside from the obvious safety concerns, the artificial creation of volatile motes is an extremely delicate and complicated process that requires highly specialized equipment. So, again, lots of tasty research, but in this particular case, I think I'm going to go for the archaeology lab because it's inexpensive. With the advent of clean fusion, automation, and matter compression technologies, it was only a matter of time before the mountaintop removal became a mountain range removal. Okay, gene modification is very cool. Faction influence gain is very cool. I'm gonna just go for my cheapest options for the next little while, I think. So what I want to do is I want to start on my planets. I want to make sure that I have enough jobs to take me to the next milestone. So for instance, this one needs 5 pops. We're covered. This one doesn't have that. I need 2 more jobs, which will come from the generator district and the city district. We're up to 21, so the next pop that gets generated on this planet, similar idea. We'll be able to, you know, build a new building to. I'm sorry, I'm totally not paying attention. We'll be able to build more facilities to make sure that people are productively employed. Our dedicated survey of Bera 3 has revealed that it may once have supported life in the distant past. There are significant deposits of frozen water at the polar ice caps and beneath the planet's surface. The existence of a valley network suggests that the water may once have flowed freely. Terraforming this planet would be theoretically possible, but we do not yet possess the technology to accomplish this monumental task within a realistic time frame. But yeah, so the Veil, we're good because they'll have 5. This one will eventually go up to 10. The ability to alter planets' weather patterns to suppress destructive weather phenomena will make residential buildings easier to maintain and open up new areas for habitation. So I'm going to follow a similar principle here. Unless I find something that I really need, I'm going to try and focus as much as I can on easy wins. So in this case, it would be civilian fabricators, even though I... Oh, no, this is going to be huge. This is great news. And one that will be available very quickly. So Halvim's taken care of. This one, 21, so we know we'll hit the milestone there. 52, we know we'll hit the 50 there. This one, we were going to have a problem, but building a city district took care of that. New contact. We have received a communique from a previously unknown spacefaring empire that called themselves the Democratic Panjala Union. They claim to have learned of our existence by listening in on the communications of another empire that we are in contact with. Oh, they look democratic for sure. Oh, but they're plant people, so they'll like us. Direct democracy, but they're hegemonic imperialists. Fair enough. Greetings from the Democratic Panzala Union. Chancellor Orange Frond is our elected representative, but the fruits of all citizens have a voice in our government. We strive to better ourselves through technology, a desire we hope you respect. Cooperation will surely benefit us all. Alright, so I think we can do business with these people. Where are you? Ah, they're inferior. Oh no. Wrong guys. These are my rivals. Well met, Rhizome Capital. It seems our translation modules are having a slight hiccup. Are you saying that you would like to touch our base? Galva, we found your species. Alright, So distance is the problem. If I invite them to the Federation, they won't join with my current allies, fair enough. Commercial pact. So the distance is a big deal. I think we'll just let time go by. Wow. Okay, we'll let time go by on this one. Also, I don't remember seeing these guys before. The Abba Star Dynasty. Power is the only universal language, but if you wish to speak more diplomatically, we won't stop you. So I'm happy to see all these technology levels are being surpassed, because obviously we've got a really big disadvantage with our Empire Sprawl, but we're able to make a lot of this work. So these are the Fanatic Pacifists, so I'm sort of okay being equivalent with them. Looks like we could stand a research agreement with these guys. These are a potential threat to us. Oh no, they're Xenophiles, but they are authoritarians, so we probably won't get along too well with them. These are my rivals, so it's great that everything but economic power is better than them. Now, unfortunately, these are my allies, and they are weaker than just about everything else. So I wonder if there is a way that I can, would you like to become a subsidiary? God. It'd be tempting. I mean, it's worth remembering that I do have the franchising. Oh, actually, it turns out this was actually a lot of a smarter choice. So whoever was originally yelling at me for saying that this is only for vassalizing was wrong. So the decrease on branch offices is actually a pretty big deal for me because I'm opening them all over the place. Okay. So this one I'm going to need to come up with some more jobs and quickly. Let's build a generator district. And apparently I went a little nuts with my my construction. Now, one of the reasons why I okay, so obviously we're going to have to wait a bit. Completed. We'll take the colony ship and we'll just head it out that way. One of the things that I need to keep in mind is that I'm buying up the consumer goods. So when I have the opportunity, I do want to build more factories. It's not going to be the end of the world if I don't ever get back to that equilibrium where I'm not buying them, but obviously having the energy available to do things like get the bonus to research and whatnot.
Science ship facing unfair competition.
You might want to get out of there, my friend. I have no idea why it isn't running for its life. Can I make it?
Ships upscaled.
7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Nailed it. Please tell me the rest of you are built to run. Okay, Looks like I was neglecting one of my offices. Now, as much as I would love to build other things on those branch offices, I need consumer goods. So we will continue to build virtual entertainment studios. Okay, and this is good news on my fleets. We've upgraded them, which means I can build at least one more
Market outlier identified.
ship. Initial scans of asteroid VA99394 suggest a dense mass of wrought metal within it, perhaps part of some machinery or other technology.
Upscaling
Further
complete.
scanning required for more detailed data. So let's...
Research actualized.
In this case, I'll just build a Corvette to hit the cap.
Future market survey
Okay,
complete.
civilian fabricators. With pre-programmed nanocircuits, consumer products can be rapidly assembled in fabricators. So I believe I can use this to upgrade one of my civilian goods factories, and this should give me a substantial bonus towards my production. Maybe not enough for me to erase the trade deal, but I can at least sort of pull back on the reins on that a little bit. Okay, this seems to be a fairly clear choice. It's a fairly inexpensive one for me to research, and I do actually need to start putting some money into my navy. So we're gonna, like, again, I have a pretty dominant research program, and at this point I want to start taking advantage of, or I want to start realizing a few more gains as far as base little bits of technology to make sure I'm not getting too far behind. Obviously, I'm making up on a lot of my my technological inferiority for my fleets with volume, but it would be nice to have a strategy that doesn't involve throwing as many ships as possible to their deaths.
Research actualized.
Shipboard lab with advanced archaeological equipment, including a vast database supplied by the Curator Order, where new
Upscaling
discoveries can
complete.
easily be cross-referenced. Okay, Omega Theory. When a temporal paradox becomes tangled, a kind of consciousness arises, with its own needs, its own desires. This is what has occurred with the consciousness that some called the worm in waiting. If we can align ourselves with that consciousness, we might just achieve a kind of immortality. So the Omega alignment will produce 16 physics. Nice little bonus. Fairly expensive, though. And I did say that I was going to go for a lot of, especially military-focused upgrades. So we'll leave the Omega Theory. I don't want to leave the worm in waiting at the altar too much, but... I think I'll live with the rest of this for now. Now, I think Python was sort of my industrial center, so here
Research actualized.
I definitely have a minerals shortage now. Tactical disruption of natural habitats combined with converging search and destroy
Special
pattern.
project actualized.
As suspected, the asteroid VA99394 holds within it a great mass of metal and does indeed hide some manner of machinery. The gathered data clearly shows that the constituent parts contain great quantities of stored energy, but its purpose remains unknown. Okay, so it's pretty far away. We can proceed carefully, or we can probe it. Proceed carefully. Caution proved well in order. Hidden inside VA99394 was a host of old mining drones programmed to attack on site. Science Officer Ash Oak fortunately detected this early and was able to jam the drone's sensors long enough to be able to disable them. The drone's cores are old indeed, but retain vast amounts of energy for siphoning. Our investigation on New Baldorak has revealed nothing out of the ordinary. The satellite the colony has used to communicate with their capital is still functional as far as we can tell. Greetings from New Baldorak. Greetings from the New Baldorak Revolutionary Front. We have thrown off the yoke of oppression and are at last free from the tyranny of Baldorak. We have no quarrel with you, shareholder, as long as you refrain from aiding the Baldorak imperialists in their inevitable attempt to crush our revolution. You could help us take the fight to our enemies, however. Would you be willing to deliver one of our commando units to Baldorak? Tell us what you have planned. We want to infiltrate Baldorak with one of our elite commando units. They will then incite a popular uprising against the decadent elite that lords over our people. After the tyrants have been deposed, all Dathnak will at last know what it's like to have true freedom. A straightforward plan if there ever was one, shareholder. We are not getting involved in your internal dispute. Of course you're not. We wouldn't want the revolution to spread to the oppressed masses in your tyrannical empire. Can't have that. It's a business. All right. Let's enjoy the fruits of killing all of the animals on our planets. But before that, I'm going to go... So the cheapest would be the ground defense planning, but I am going to go for atmospheric filtering just for the habitability bonus. Okay. Impossible Mountains are already on the way out. Still didn't get the sinkhole done. Alright. So again, the reason why I'm focusing so much on tile blockers is, especially with the POP system, being able to generate as many hands to work the tiles, and of course making sure you have enough tiles to be worked matters quite a bit more. You can't just sort of, like, especially for things like robots, you really do need to...
Upscaling complete.
You really do need to plan ahead of time in some of these cases. I do at some point want to upgrade my my anchorages. I'm a little annoyed at myself for not getting the naval bonus, but I speak on behalf of the lawful Dathnak government on Baldorak. We have received a manifesto from the group that seized control of New Baldorak, and boy, what a bunch of hogwash. These brigands and anarchists are a terrible embarrassment to us, shareholder. Will you help us stomp out their little revolution before it spreads here and someone actually gets hurt? General Paltanak has prepared an expeditionary force to retake the colony, but we'll need your help in transporting them there. So, we shall help you.
Situation log revised.
We knew we could count on you, shareholder. These rebels won't know what hit them. Oh, I'm not copping out, Galva. I should consider putting Flora Hawthorne in the labs before too long. So she'd be a great replacement for Bud Bloom. Oh. How about I wait until after the event is done? So I'm just trying to think where
Research actualized.
I want to put my focus next. Okay, we've got fusion missiles. These updated space-to-space missiles have more powerful fusion warheads and improved flight performance. So here, similar idea. I mean, I think just going for, you know, the nice thing is I have all these little, you know, easy wins, which will make my military quite a bit more powerful than it was before. So, okay, what the hell do I want to do with you? If I get you to automate, yeah, you go roughly where I'd want you to go.
Research actualized.
By adjusting the atmospheric filtering on a per-site basis to better filter out undesirable elements, colonial living conditions may be improved. Okay, so the tile blockers are pretty tempting here. Ecological adaptation allows us to terraform inhabited planets. That's a really big one for me. Probably more so than... Okay, so if I knew that I could lock this in down below, I would, I would skip over it. But this is going to be a pretty huge one for getting some bonuses on my existing planets. Because it's important to remember that when you have planets that your species doesn't necessarily align well with, you see higher costs for certain activities. And of course, because I'm already starved for consumer goods, this kind of carries a fairly heavy cost for me. So in this case, ecological adaptation is a if
Potential market survey completed.
in truth, it's probably
Upscaling
better
complete.
seen as an economy choice rather than an expansion choice. Although obviously, being able to colonize all these things is really cool too. Okay, so I might as well upgrade the fleet. I still have 3 for exotic gases and 2 for volatile motes, so... And on Paradia, we still have a few amenities, which is good. I think I'm going to carry the usual habit that I have here, which is we'll put a corporate culture site down, seeing as it's within the Rhizome capital sector. Reasoning there being that I'm going to have bonuses towards research. So they're going to be my primary Unity and research generators. Akram, on the other hand, they're good for amenities, they're good for housing, so I think you folks get the unique privilege of putting out more goods for the rest of the organization.
Special project actualized.
Several freighters under escort by the RCA Ornithorynchus, the third of its name, have dropped the cargo canisters carrying the Dathnak Expeditionary Force to New Balderek's atmosphere. Moments later, flashes can be seen coming from beneath the gas giant's cloud layer. The fighting appears to have started. Now we wait and see what happens next. Okay, so here... Let's switch out Flora Hawthorne, and we will take our weakest scientist. I mean, Bud Bloom's not a bad scientist by any stretch of the imagination. It's just that Flora has a bunch of really desirable traits. So, and of course, Flora is relative of the legendary Ebenezer Hawthorne. So, now they were on their way up north, so we'll carry on that fine tradition. Oh, looks like my neighbors got through. So the reason I changed my plans with this science ship is I want to see if I want to participate at all in this land grab.
Upscaling complete.
Okay, so it's the education campaign and the recycling campaign. I'm good for a recycling campaign because that'll help me with my consumer goods. Education campaign's a little bit of a harder one for me to justify because it is 2,300, and I am actually trying to save a bit of money right now. So we'll hold off
Potential
on
market
the
survey
education.
completed.
And healthcare campaign is pretty much, yeah, I still want to have population growth, so. I do need to be a little more mindful of my cash, though. How are we for trade? Pretty good. And this was a pretty big pretty big priority here because we now have the resource that we needed. So I'm gonna patch up the mistake that I made before. General Paltanak here, speaking from New Balderak. Operation Gaseous Fury has been a complete success. All primary objectives have been seized and government control has been restored to all atmospheric sectors. Aside from a few holdouts, most rebel units have surrendered or been routed. Much obliged for the support, shareholders. Now if you'll excuse me, I need to transmit a casualty report to Balderak. Paltanak out. A well-executed operation. Well, we crushed a rebellion. Other than that, Ego Karin, I think...
Research actualized.
I think just more Stellaris. Weapons that eject destructive bolts of high energy. Edgeless Safety Cube, thank you very much for the follow. I think that's a Portal reference. It's been a while since I played, sorry, Portal 2 reference. But I'm pretty sure that's a reference GLaDOS makes. I appreciate the support. Glad you're enjoying it. Weapons that eject destructive balls of high-energy plasma at targets. These plasma projectiles are extremely effective at eating through ship armor. So again, just following the same logic that we have here, it's a bunch of upgrades to, or like simple upgrades to my ships. We're getting a lot of the research in just because so the main reason why I'm doing a lot of this is that there's no upgrade that's immediately screaming out to me, you have to have this right away. Obviously, ecological adaptation, that was not true. Like ecological adaptation, even though I had cheaper alternatives, I leapt on that one because I knew that it would help me solve a problem which I'm having, which is of course that I'm consuming a lot of consumer goods and I'm simply not able to generate enough. Like I'm already buying a bunch of them. And the key here is that if I'm able to solve my consumer goods problem, I'm actually going to be able to start spending on things like education campaigns again. But at the moment, I need to sort of cut back because I know that some of my energy credits are now going to be going towards dealing with this imbalance that I have. So, did they deserve it, or was it just profitable? I don't know. Like, I just feel like it's not very Megacorp-like to, to support the People's Revolution, brought to you by Rhizome Capital. Doesn't quite seem to fit. All right. But as you can see, so one of the things that's sort of nice about doing that as well is you'll notice that we've sort of converged to this spot where everything's expensive again pretty rapidly. So I generally like doing that. Obviously, at the start, each technology choice that you make has really far-reaching impacts. Here, it's a little bit harder to say. So for instance, we've got self-aware colony ships. Now, in the intermediate term, this is a really good one because I've got 4 planets being terraformed right now. So I'm going to be doing a lot of colonies in a while. But am I going to be doing that in the time it'll take me to hit that one again? I don't know. It's definitely not going to take me a long time to research. On the other hand, we get autonomous station protocols, which will give me a 10% bonus to research station output. Now, this isn't great. I mean, if I take a look, stations, anywhere between 70 to 40. At least in this case, it's, it's not just physics, it's everything. And of course, more research allows me to research more stuff faster. But no problem, the exception. Thank you again for your resub. I'm glad you're getting enough out of it to keep tossing me a couple of bucks every month. Have a lovely evening. Now, X-ray lasers are a really tempting one because it's obviously a powerful weapon, and of course it unlocks the energy weapons path. And then finally there's experimental subspace navigation, but honestly there's already so much stuff that my science ships can look for that I think if I'm going to be spending the 8,000, it should be on one of these two. And in this case here, I kind of as a default, unless I have a better alternative, I almost always go for the research option. So in this case, even though it's stations, so it's not quite as desirable as what's going on inside of my labs, it does give me more to work with. So we're going to be waiting a while on with this ship, unfortunately.
Research actualized.
100 Corvette hull points. Advances in building techniques will allow for the construction of sturdier and more durable Corvettes. Alright, I think I'm going to have to pause for a bit to decide. So I don't really normally like doing... so exotic gases are one that I would potentially consider building a facility for. And the reason for that is obviously being able to generate more exotic gases will allow me to enhance my research even more. Swarmer missiles are tempting, and they're not that expensive. Defensive platforms are a little bit harder to justify, but I think against my better judgment, I am going to go for the exotic gas refineries. And again, this is a little bit more just a kick the can down the road sort of a breakthrough rather than any hard decision. There's something unusual about this moon. Is it a space station? Okay.
Upscaling complete.
I think at this point we should upgrade the Starhold. We're still good for our trade, so I'm happy with that. I'm actually a little curious, how's the profitability of Halvam? Not exactly where it should be, but we'll give it time. I did incorporate those two fleets, right? I did not, because they're upgrading. Fair enough. What else? I'm tempted to see if I can maybe expand out a few more branches.
Upscaling complete.
Okay, I'm gonna hold off on the holo theaters, although I should be upgrading my my industry at this point. Okay, we're still good for amenities, still good, for housing, still good for amenities. I think... Actually, I'm gonna hold off for a second on this. No, I'm not. Maybe I will, maybe not. I don't know. Deeper scans of Sehovis 2A's crust confirm what the crew already suspected. Sehovis is no ordinary moon. The entire planetary body is an artificial construct made out of an exceptionally mineral-rich rock, packed around a massive steel framework. Likely it was created to slow the rotational speed of Sehovis 2, making the days longer and the tides higher, priming it for habitation. As far as we can tell, nobody ever settled the planet.
Potential market survey completed.
So the trick that I'm running into here, and this is one of the reasons why I really enjoy the Megacorps expansion, the decisions that you make at this stage are like
ships upscaled.
I'm going to need to wait for four more pops before I'm going to be able to unlock another one of these things. So the idea here is, okay, do I gobble up some more minerals in order to produce, another 12 consumer goods when the time comes? Because I know I'm going to be getting another 18 once I'm able to upgrade these civilian fabricators. Is this going to be enough for me to carry on? Now, there's an easy answer to that in this particular case, and that happens if we go to our trade. We're buying 41. So in this particular case, I think I am going to do another civilian industries. But obviously, there's got to be a point where I'm like, okay, maybe we should be, building something that'll give us amenities or happiness or whatever. Now, let's do... It looks like I do actually have enough production of volatile motes to upgrade this. This will chew into my minerals a bit, which I'm not crazy about. The next move is going to be, because I have 3 exotic gases available to me, what I'm going to do is I'm going to upgrade this to the Advanced Research Complex, because that just gives me... So you'll notice, right, we've got...
Ships upscaled.
What's the best way for me to do this? Let's switch this out into commercial, from a commercial zone. So we'll replace and say basic research. It should give us like 10 of each. Why can't I find you? Oh, here we go. Research labs. So it's 8 of each, actually. So we upgrade 1,
Research
Oh,
actualized.
this is already it. So it's basically, it does eight of each. And if I want to upgrade it, I give up one. I give up one of the exotic gases. But what am I gaining in return? Well, basically, I'm getting 12 additional research. The other thing you can look at, right, is that I'm spending four consumer goods in order to generate 2 of each research. Now, what am I spending here? Well, I'm spending 10 consumer goods to get, or hang on, did I do that right? Sorry, so I should actually work out this calculation. So for this, I'm spending, 1 consumer good will get me 2 of each. In this particular case, it's still, 1 to 2 and 32. Nope, it doubles it each time. Okay, so consumer goods expenditure is the same, although obviously you're just generating that much more research with the same resources. So in any case, because it turns out that I'm extracting more exotic gases than I was originally planning, I will upgrade this to an advanced research complex, which... So this will require an additional 1. And if I have 3 available, so that would be 1, 2, 3. Or alternatively, I upgrade this one. I'm not sure if it's better. I guess... So I get 12, then from 20... I go to 32. So I guess the increment is the same. So I suppose it just makes sense to focus on these, and maybe who knows, maybe I'll wind up replacing one of these units with something else. That probably took longer than I really needed to. Oh, and we've got research done. Exotic gas can be produced artificially, but it is a difficult process that requires advanced refinery equipment. So similar story, let's find out what we can do with my engineering. I mean, it's going to cost us less than 100 months now to get the living metal, but I'm not convinced that's the best thing I can do at the moment. Replicator kiosks is an interesting one, but we do only have 1 rare crystal, so I don't think I can justify... I can't justify it right now. So, let's go for our next best, which in this case will be Corvette hull points, as much as I'd like to get Star Fortresses. I don't want to be too reckless with my spending. I may need amenities at some point. I'm actually not 100% sure what I want to use Halvum for yet. Dearest customer, we regret to inform you that the trade deal we negotiated for the export of exotic gas to the worlds of Rhizome Capital has run its course. We are, of course, more than willing to extend the deal for another 10 years if you have the energy credits to spare. Ah. So, yes, we'll extend the deal. And we'll spend dearly because it's money that I was apparently already using. That's the ZeroCorp way.
Complete.
Our freighters will begin making deliveries immediately. By purchasing this product, you agree that ZeroCorp will not be held responsible for any adverse effects that may result from its use, including, but not limited to, skin irritation, psychotic episodes, or ocular discoloration, aggressive mutation, increased colonist suicide rates, precognitive trances, biosphere depletion, dangerous stringlet production, micro black hole generation, grain elevator explosion, societal collapse, mass extinction events, unexpected supernova detonations, the complete or partial destruction of your star nation, sudden gamma ray bursts, time travel paradoxes, vacuum metastability events, universal entropy, and the collapse of the space-time continuum. So that font was a little too small for me to deliver that as smoothly as I was hoping. Such is life. I'm just trying to think my way through this one. I'm gonna hold out on this because I should be getting some more jobs as a result of the planetary administration. I don't actually need to hammer in
Research
every...
actualized.
I don't need to like lock in every building at the moment, so... okay, bonus research station output. Increased automation of station functions will free up more staff for research duties. So Disruptor is probably my best bet here. Energy credits from technicians is a fairly important one for me now. I don't really generate that much from jobs. We're really generating the most of our wealth off-world, actually. So essentially what I'm really gaining with the quantum energy states is about, rounding up, it's about 8 energy. That's not a lot. So I think the Disruptor is the right call here. I don't even know what my neighbors have as far as defenses are concerned. So, but I usually, for single player, I usually let the
Market
AI
outlier identified.
handle the shipbuilding anyway. So. Through hard work and experience, scientist Heath Hawthorne has developed new skills. An unusually deliberate geometric configuration of minerals drifts through the debris belt by LJGST and is possibly of alien origin. What I'm going to do here before we open comms, I'm going to pull back a little bit on this order. We're receiving transmission from the independent space station of the Mutagen Merchant Guild. They appear to have successfully translated our language. Well met, friends. I represent the Mutagan Merchant Guild, and let me be the first to welcome you to the Camglera system. Our organization consists of hundreds of independent Mutagan merchant captains who brave spaceways in search of the next good deal. At our facilities, you'll be able to trade away some of your excess resources. Please contact us if you are interested in such an arrangement. So I'm actually in much better state, a much better state with the gases than I thought I was. My real bottleneck is actually my mineral wealth.
Upscaling complete.
So
Research actualized.
By adapting planetary ecosystems to large-scale environmental changes, we can turn terraformation into a less disruptive process. So I'm not going to go crazy with this right away. So higher fleet command limit would be kind of cool right now, but we'll go for the soldier one. The Veil seems pretty clear we'll go for the corporate culture site like we normally do. So the reason for the corporate culture site is, one, because I have a pretty big penalty from Empire Sprawl. We pay almost 70% extra for tradition adoption. And then it does also give me social research, so it is a minor, sort of a minor technological argument as well. The Prince. In gentle orbit around the massive LJGST floats a portable databank. Scooped up by the RCA Juris, it is found to contain text in some alien language. The vocabulary is not wholly unfamiliar, but the syntax is disconcertingly complex. Science Officer Heath Hawthorne recommends a more thorough study to decipher its contents and its origins. Analyze it on Rhizome Capital.
Situation log revised.
Alright, so... how are we in the L cluster? Okay. Nothing crazy is going to happen before too long. Yeah, so I kind of want to see myself with a bit more energy. Like,
Market outlier identified.
probably I'm not going to consider terraforming some of my existing planets until I'm around 20k. The debris field, which QH-426 is part of, roils and swirls under the influence of unknown
Special
forces.
project actualized.
So the main reason for that is I need to remember that I'm maintaining both the Curator Enclave as well as the oh damn it, why can I not remember their name? The Arts and Crafts people. So I want to kind of continue getting the bonus to Unity and Technology because, of course, that's how I address my Empire Sprawl penalties. But with that in mind, I need to make sure that, like, I no longer have this wonderful paradise where, you know, I can just sort of rely on having this infinite, this infinite stream of energy credits coming in. Until I deal with my consumer goods problems, I need to make sure that I'm a bit more responsible with how I'm using this money. So, the scammers? No, Airman. The who are they? Well, maybe. I guess it depends on how you feel about Kickstarter. Where are we? We've got the Artist Enclave and the Curator Enclave. So I currently have contracts with both of them, and I want to make sure I have enough money set aside to handle it. All right. The Prince, legible. The text, its title roughly translates to Regional Ruler, is written in a presumably ancient dialect of the Hythian tongue and tongue spoken in the United Hythian League. The text is doubtlessly some historical import to them and might contain valuable insights. So you can say, let us divine its secrets they need not know, or return it to the proper owners, hail them. Now, I normally do like getting the influence, but in this case, 40 influence, I think I'll keep things friendly, so... Ah, I didn't know that, Araman. We understand that you found the only surviving copy of The Prince, a text of significant historical and cultural importance to our people. We thought it irrevocably lost to a pirate raid years ago, but we are grateful to see that it found its way into civilized hands. Will you return it to us? We'll gladly transfer some energy credits for your trouble. Music to my ears. Normally, I like to try and buy influence when I can, but 1,500 energy credits is definitely not...
Upscaling complete.
Definitely not a bad trade-off in this particular case. Oh my goodness! So you missed all of the excitement? All the nice things I said about you, Eyes of Sin? I'm crushed. I hope you had a very good nap. Wait, did you not hear me say, I'll try and bribe you with cookies or chocolates or flowers to try and get you into Stellaris again? I will actually say, so as much as I like to tease Eyes of Sin, I can actually say with dead certainty, the Eyes of Sin is one of the hardest working people that I know. I think one of the things that impresses me so much about her is that so in the past I have done sort of, work on my own account. But one problem that I have in terms of like running any kind of business on my own or that is I have a big problem pricing myself. And I generally don't think I can sort of keep myself together enough to be able to make a proper go of being able to support myself through my own work. I think if it's a question of talent, at the risk of sounding immodest, I think I'm good enough at what I do to be able to, how do I put it? Like, I don't think it's if the only thing that mattered was your ability to do the job, I think I would be capable of sort of setting out on my own. But obviously there's a certain question of work ethic. There's a question of, being able to sort of maintain contacts and relationships and whatnot. And Eyes of Sin is not only capable of being able to operate in the very competitive space of being a freelance artist, but on top of that, she has a number of domestic duties which she does tirelessly. I almost always skip cleaning the apartment or something like that if I'm feeling tired. So whenever it's funny because she always apologizes if she's not able to attend the cast, but she is a superwoman in some cases. She really is seems to be able to do a bit of everything. So I wanted to take a minute and say that, because I'm sure she's going to. Oh, there, she already said I'm a lot lazier than you make me out to be. I was going to say, I wanted to say that because she tends to run herself down a little bit more than she really should. So anyways. Our detailed survey of Sehuvis B3 has revealed that it may once have supported life in the distant past. There are ancient deposits of frozen water at the polar ice caps and beneath the planet's surface. The existence of valley networks suggests that the water may have once flowed freely. Terraforming this planet would theoretically be possible, but we do not yet possess the technology to accomplish this monumental task within a realistic time frame.
Upscaling complete.
All right, so again, we're getting a little bit more of an advance as far as our consumer goods are concerned. So I'm going to go back to the market, and I think I'll just cut it by half each time. So by half of the surplus.
Research actualized.
All right, we'll deal with the tradition in a second. There are many alien empires who would gladly seize our worlds for themselves. We must be prepared for them, should the worst come to pass. Okay, I'm very tempted to go for the interstellar fleet traditions because this will allow me to upgrade some of my star bases and get some capacity, but I'm also very tempted to get those tile blockers done. And these are a little cheaper, so the thing is that, like, I don't think... Okay, so if the Great Khan shows up, the difference of a handful of ships is not going to... That is not going to decide the battle. My ability to create an efficient system for producing things might actually make the difference. So in this case, I'm going to go for the tile blocker, although it's one I feel a little funny about. I did say I was going to go for the greater good. It's less about the governing ethics attraction so much as it will, moving down the road, being able to reduce amenities usage means that I can potentially use some of those slots for other productive uses. So in this case, our entire population takes comfort in the knowledge that they are working together for the greater good, each one a small but important part of a vastly larger whole. Getting a little shy on food, but we should be able to deal with that before too long.
Research actualized.
The disruptor. Disruptors fire high-energy bolts that weaken and destroy the molecular bonds that hold the target's constituent atoms together. They are capable of passing through shields and armor to wreak havoc directly on the enemy hull and crew. So everything kind of costs the same now. We can do planetary shield generator. Now these used to generate science, but they don't anymore. So I don't really plan on going to war. So the question is, do I want an ion disruptor or an X-ray laser? X-ray laser. And we will put Flora on the job. Because in addition to being a genius, she works really well with laser beams. Okay. Unsurprisingly, we will go towards more virtual entertainment studios. Still don't have a good idea about what I want to do on Halvam. I think first thing I'm going to do is... Oh, I don't have the minerals for it. Melemony! Thank you very much for the host. Good to see you. For those of you who don't know Melemony, she has the distinction of being my my original sort of turncoat in the Grand Coalition that came after me.
Upscaling
Lemony
complete.
and K5RTO are the two people who I've played a proper full Stellaris game with. Everybody else, it's usually just been sort of a stick a toe in and oh my
Outlier
god, it's so
identified.
complicated. But yeah, it's been a little hard for me to find people to play Stellaris with. So both K5 and Melemony were kind enough to host me in one of their multiplayer sessions where I had a good time with my planet crackers and other madness. How are you doing tonight? This barren and lifeless world is showing signs of once having supported a biosphere. Well, we kind of know what will happen, but here I'm just gonna grab the physics. Now, I'm a little curious what's going on with my science ships. So this fellow's where I want him to be. This fellow's where I want him to be. Hemivalis is where I want it to be. So where's this guy? Ah, I see. They took the long way because apparently they have not actually taken these things out. I just couldn't see them. Fair enough. I'm going to avoid upgrading these ships because there's always going to be another thing to upgrade them for. You'll never understand these games, but you'll leave it on in the background at least. I mean, I really like these grand strategy games. I think this is actually an interesting way to... This will be an interesting... Rogilla 3C has been terraformed into a tropical world. May not even be my best option, but in this case, I'm just going to go and colonize it as fast as I can. Latest generation of Corvette hulls have optimized structural integrity fields and improved
Colonial
bulk.
Enterprise upsizing.
Okay. Let me just pick a new technology, and then I'll try and explain what the appeal of these games are, Sean Bean. Oh, no, I have to play with people who are, like, inferior to me. Otherwise, you know, I won't be able to keep my ego. That'll be cool. Thank you. So the autocannon's kind of tempting to go for because I do have some bigger ships. But I think I'm going to do the synthetic crystal plants because this might be a way that I can get out of my my consumer good blues. Still don't know what I want to do on Halvam. I'm also going to need to decide what to do on Paradaya. I think I'll make that another agricultural district so I can maintain food. The appeal is getting a giant fleet together and going for an enthusiastic walk. Have a great one, Lumpy Space. Thank you very much for hanging out, as always. So, for the grand strategy games in general, I always start off by sort of saying that there's a trade-off for these kinds of games. Okay, tile blockers. Many planets exhibit extensive subsurface voids. Subterranean exploration, exploitation, and construction techniques can greatly increase the habitable area of some worlds. So this should give me access to all of my tiles across all of my worlds, and now I can start sort of thinking about what the fun choices are. We'll go for Global Defense Grid. I'm not really going to use it that much, but it does fit this specialist, and again, it's more low-hanging fruit that I can take. Now, Yamal Prime, I would normally want to turn into another research facility, again, to take advantage of the % bonus that Rose Maple gives my researchers. It's exactly what I'm going to do. Now that is operating at cross purposes to my, minimize the use of consumer goods. but oh, I don't have enough. Okay. I should really find some more opportunities to extract minerals then. Maybe I can do that on some of these other planets once they get converted. I kind of think anchorages are the call here. First a shipyard, then an anchorage. Now, an off-world trading company... That gets me 2, but then there's nothing else that I was really going to use it for, so I'll do one of those as well. But yeah, so I first of all, I think about the trade-off in a grand strategy game, which is that they are compared to, say, Wolfenstein: The New Order or Battlefield, or even something that's strategic. So I think one of the things that's maybe less appreciated now, if you consider some of the indie strategy games that have been coming out, a lot of them have actually been focused on simplifying the genre. So Tooth and Tail, for instance, is arguably one of the few RTSs that you could play on a console without too much difficulty. And it's also one which is essentially it kind of did what the MOBA did. It's reduced your direct interaction with the battle to one character, but of course it does so in a completely different way from how MOBAs do these things. There's another really interesting one, and it's got a very funny trailer called Crush Your Enemies, and it's a similar idea. It's a very good strategy game, real-time strategy game, which I think has really stripped down its it's stripped down the genre to its essentials, and I like that sort of stuff personally. The grand strategy games are the exact opposite of that. What the trend has been for these is that as you go from, Europa Universalis 3 to 4, or Hearts of Iron 3 to Hearts of Iron 4, and Stellaris is the best example of this trend. They are not removing the complexity from the games, but what they are doing is they are simplifying the interface with them. So I really like Victoria, for instance, but I would not feel comfortable at all telling anyone how to play Victoria. I'm still figuring out how to play that game myself, and it is a lot harder to get into than Stellaris, for instance, because Paradox has had the time to sort of live with these genres and figure out how things work. But I'm getting ahead of myself here. The appeal to me for these grand strategy games, in addition to just sort of the idea of the fact that, you've got this wonderful big toy to just sort of mess around with. The thing that really works for the grand strategy games for me is this idea. It's a little bit like sort of gardening almost, as you plant some seeds, and then 20 years in game time pass, and then those seeds that you planted bear fruit. And in Crusader Kings, maybe you get a new, a new holding because of a very, clever marriage that you did. Or in the case of Stellaris, you sort of have seen over the few playthroughs I've been saying, it's like, okay, I'm going to pick this particular technology because 2 or 3 turns from now, this is going to happen. Or it's like, okay, I'm running out of these particular resources. I need to make sure that I get X. So to give you maybe a good case in point example, I'm very lucky that my minerals are still positive. I mean, there used to be a time when we were in triple digits for minerals. Now, one of the sort of time bombs that I'm setting for myself here is that because my demands for consumer goods are so intense, I'm just building all of these factories that need them. And that's fine. That's exactly the way that I should be managing this. But what eventually is going to happen is that when these consumer goods factories are all running at capacity, they're going to make some very heavy demands on my minerals. And I don't have some easy ways to get minerals. What I effectively need to do is I need to take some of my existing planets and mine them. But, you know, on Rhizome Capital, I've only got 2 spaces available for that. You know, Yamal Prime, again, I've got 2 more spaces available. Python, I have a little bit more. But you can sort of see that there's only so much I can really get out of these improvements. And by choosing one, it's denying me the option of pursuing the other. So I'm sort of aware of it. I haven't explicitly said that, oh, I need to be focusing on minerals again, because I've sort of had a couple of ideas in the back of my head about how I'm going to manage it. But that's the big thing about this one is that they're sometimes very difficult. Your seeds were GMO, Varric 3. But yeah, it's I think the thing for me at least about the Paradox games are that you know, it's not for everyone, because there is a certain investment that they sort of expect you to make to get into it. They give you a complex enough environment to sort of continue playing it. Like, there's a reason why people have play times of over 1,000 hours in like every Paradox game. So, and let's face it, like even if you wanted to, there are people who just simply do not have the time to be able to dedicate that to a game. But again, the contract sort of is that if you're willing to put in the time to learn it, then you get just this never-ending source of new things to try out in these kinds of games, assuming that you like coming up with these elaborate schemes and see how they work out. So all right, our detailed survey of Caliothea 4 has revealed that it may once have supported life in the distant past. There are significant deposits of frozen water at the polar ice caps and beneath the planet's surface. The existence of valley networks suggests that the water may have once flowed freely. Terraforming this planet would be theoretically possible, but we do not yet possess the technology to accomplish this monumental task within a realistic time frame. One thing I should mention, by the way, I am debating about whether or not Imperator is a good idea for me to consider on stream. Because in one sense, I feel like that is a game that I would really enjoy covering, and I have a feeling that there would be an audience for it. But it has this added cost in the fact that I do have a little bit of a background in classics. And so it's very much a game that's right up my alley for sure. But it also sort of carries with it this implicit threat that if you think I get on tangents for Stellaris, you know, what do you think is going to happen once I start getting Livy out of the closet and subject you to that? So I don't even know when it's coming. It's coming out in like April, isn't it? And while scanning the asteroid belt, our science team found some sort of irregularity. 8-hour streams. Just me reading Livy. Alright, so I think my first priority is going to be to try and upgrade. And Python is my industrial world, so I think in this case we'll let this one take the honors. You know, the funny thing is I have a lot of friends who really love the Age of Empires series, but I've always had a challenge. Like, I don't dislike them, but I didn't really get to play, so I didn't really play them when they were new. Like, I've always played them as like a remastered game. And the funny thing is like there was a guy, I mean, in the end I sort of found out that they weren't really all that interested in me. I think it was just more kind of like they like to shout me out because they know I give big shout outs and I'm supportive and things like that. So I kind of got the impression after a while that they were sort of just like,
Research actualized.
this is a way I can get extra attention on my stream. But basically they called me for the longest time a real-time strategy streamer. And that's technically true of like Stellaris because it's pausable real-time strategy. But like, I'm actually not very good at games like Age of Empires. I think they're very well done games, like especially Age of Empires because of that little market mechanic inside of it. I thought that was a really clever idea. And I played a little Age of Mythology now that I remember. I thought that was rather fun. But the thing is, I've never been very good at them. And like StarCraft, you know, it's enjoyable. I mean, I think you can get the base game for free from Blizzard now, so it's, you know, why not play it if you haven't, right? And you know, I find it enjoyable enough. But I noticed like when I play, I'm trying to go through the campaign because I never played Brood War. I'm trying to get through the original campaign because I also never got to the end of the original campaign either. Like what I tend to notice is that I'll do a mission in StarCraft and like I'll get to the end of the mission and I'm kind of like, okay, you know, I don't regret spending that time, but I'm not doing another mission right away. Whereas Stellaris could very easily like keep me up all night. So have you looked at the addition to StarCraft 2 that was added but almost got zero marketing and attention, the co-op mode with heroes and such? Now, I mean, I've not even finished the first Wings of Liberty StarCraft 2. So are you talking about like there was an expansion that they did? God, I can't even remember. Let me find the name of it. I actually have my Blizzard browser up, so I know this is supposed to be Stellaris, but I'm close to the end anyway, so we're not missing out one way or the other. So StarCraft 2. So like, I think now, I think like Wings of Liberty is free to play, and then like, Heart of the Swarm and Legacy of the Void are like expansions. And I think I know what you're talking about. There was another thing that they added. Was it like themed around Nova? No, that can't be right. Oh wow, they've really changed how they're selling this thing now. I don't even think they call them by the... Oh no, yeah, Wings of Liberty, Legacy of the Void, goody, yeah. But where is the... Nova Covert Ops. Okay, so maybe we're talking about something different. Interesting. I'm gonna have to read this up a little bit later. Sorry, I don't want to spend too much time off the game. Only played Age of Empires on easy mode since you're mainly console player and you weren't going to learn all these keyboard shortcuts for one PC game. Yeah, I don't even learn any of the keyboard shortcuts for most strategy games. The strategic value of a good defense remains as relevant today as it was to our predecessors in the far distant past. Technology does not render fortifications obsolete, it merely changes their requirements. Okay. Paradise Domes are cool, but too expensive as far as rare. So here's the thing, right? Housing and amenities, all good, wonderful. Like, I 100% endorse the idea of the Paradise Dome, but it denies me the ability to produce a lot of consumer goods. So I don't research that. At this point, I think I'm just going to knock out, well... See, another Civic slot would be kind of cool, actually. think... No, I'm gonna do the short ones. I'll probably regret that decision now that I think about it, but I am looking for a few easy wins on my military. Also, notice we've very quietly managed to get ourselves back up to a point where we're close to 200, which is going to be nice because it'll mean I start terraforming some other
Research
worlds.
actualized.
Right, the crystallization process is complicated and difficult, but synthetic crystals can be manufactured by using specialized industrial plants. So mining station output's actually a little tempting, but then there's antimatter missiles as well.
Potential market survey completed.
Let's go for the antimatter missiles, because let's face it, the the con's coming at some point. So again, just trying to preserve my energy credits by reducing. I don't really benefit a lot by having a massive surplus of consumer goods, so I'm just trying to roll back the amount that I'm spending on this sort of stuff. Okay, I need to make a decision. I don't know what that building downsized meant. At this point, I actually need to start building something that will employ people. Okay, research labs needs 360. How are we on? We'll manage, but I think I'm gonna need to mail one of the drones off.
Upscaling complete.
Oh, that's really interesting, Galva. Yeah, that sounds like something really good. I mean, the one drawback that I have is I don't normally have a lot of people to play that sort of stuff with. But that sounds like a really interesting way of doing... So, like, it's not like you haven't had a co-op-ish mode in real-time strategy since the beginning. Like, I believe there have always been teams in these kinds of games. But what did we lose?
Market
Research grants.
outlier identified.
Research grants. Well, it's influence though, so I think I'm gonna hold off on that for a bit. This asteroid recently suffered an impact from another body within the asteroid belt, which resulted in slightly changed orbit and a massive crater on the surface. But obviously being able to play on like a team is a very different thing than actually a mode that is specifically designed to properly properly divide up the work. Like in some cases, to create co-op, you want to
actualized.
Like you kind of want to put some limitations on one of the players to make sure that people are actually working in a team. I mean, like you don't have to. I suppose if you have like a group of pros together, then they'll find a way to divide things up. But generally, like if you think about a MOBA, right? Like that's going to be 5 people on each side, and there's no such thing as a like I do everything character. It's you have to pick what your role is, and you'll do whatever task is asked of you, or whatever that character specializes in. So it's kind of neat that they put in something like that. Okay, so we've got our X-ray lasers. These lasers have a shorter wavelength than UV-based laser weaponry, but are even more destructive. So I would have gone for the Omega alignment because it would be cool to see the end of the horizon signal. But in this case, we will do wormhole stabilization because wormhole travel is pretty darn cool. And energy siphon. According to the Tayanki method of siphoning energy from gaseous matter, it is possible to construct weapons draining energy from enemy ships. So I can get amoeba flagella, I can get regenerative hull tissue, executive retreat. That's great. Synergy forum. I mean, these all seem great, but I think I'm going to follow with my... See, this is a harder one to justify because I know I'm not really getting anything extra out of this, but I'll knock them off the list. Alright, asteroid collision. Upon closer examination, we have discovered that a smaller asteroid consisting almost entirely of precious metals recently collided with P-17. This small but dense cache of metals was hidden just beneath the asteroid's surface, but now that it has been discovered, it should be accessible to mining. But I don't think it's anywhere close to where I am not going to be able to exploit that. Yeah, well, I mean, I think part of it is... I don't know why, but it really does feel like, to a certain extent, StarCraft has had a bit of difficulty trying to keep attention. Attention shareholders, if you have need of others to fight your battles for you, know that the Krabnar mercenary fleets are available for hire. Yes, you heard correctly. If you can meet their prices, the best mercenaries in the galaxy are now willing to fight for you. Good to know.
Potential market survey completed.
But yeah, like obviously...
Upscaling complete.
I guess it was more of like a Korea thing, but there was certainly no shortage of esports for StarCraft. But it sort of seemed that right around the time that esports were becoming a little bit more of a North American thing, it sort of seems like, it sort of feels like a lot of these, trends like Dota or League of Legends or CSGO sort of took the limelight. Like, it doesn't quite feel like StarCraft ever quite got that that level of attention that, say... So, like, for instance, onto it, like, I don't follow esports that well, and clearly to people who care about it, there is a reasonably well-supported StarCraft 2 Western esports scene. One that I was largely aware of because there was apparently a really good Canadian player. It's the only reason I kind of really knew about it. But like when I sort of think about what I see on the top of Twitch, like, Apex Legends apparently is just eating everything, which is great because I know there's a lot of people who hate EA who apparently need to admit that they have like the most popular game right now. I'm gonna crank this all the way down 15. So I'm gonna crank it down by 15, which means I should be down to 14 on these things. But yeah, so I think this level of experimentation probably reflects an investment on Blizzard on trying to reinvigorate the title or to keep it fresh. But I also think it creates a certain challenge, which is if you're sticking with StarCraft, it's probably because you like the base game right now, and that doesn't necessarily mean... Like, it doesn't... I suppose that does not necessarily make you very inclined towards... towards trying out some of these new things. But when am I hopping on the Apex Legends? I mean, I've only ever played one round of Fortnite, but apparently because it's teams only, if Johnny would be willing to like carry me while I learned how to play those kinds of games, I could see the possibility of me doing that. All right, among the asteroids surrounding NCC 784, we have discovered an alien ship adrift. It is not responding to our attempts to hail them. If this is due to being unable to interpret our signal or some other reason, we do not know. Science Officer Heath Hawthorne recommends that we get a construction ship out to tow it out of the debris field. If left untouched, it risks being crushed by the asteroids. A special project has been issued to save the ship and investigate it. So let's, before we do anything, I don't think there's any hope of us making there, so scrap it for mineral materials, which in this case is actually particularly good because, as predicted, we got smushed. So I think here I'm gonna make Python my new mine. Although, I mean, we already have a bunch of empty jobs that aren't getting fulfilled. I don't know though. Like I played. So the thing. Okay, one of the reasons why I didn't really jump on the Fortnite train as well as I should have was I actually got to play the alpha of it, but one of the reasons why I didn't play it very it didn't grip me. It wasn't a bad game, but it didn't necessarily fall under the set of things that are like, oh, I really need to play more of this. Like,
research
I'm trying
actualized.
to think. Antimatter missiles, advanced missiles equipped with very powerful antimatter warheads. A new and improved guidance system gives them a better chance of finding their targets. All right, so the railgun sort of seems like the next logical upgrade on this. Yeah, it's inexpensive, so I'm trying to think of like a good example of where this would come up. So
Future market survey complete.
all right, now we're at 20k. I need to make good on a promise. Okay, so this desert world. Let's turn that into something a little nicer. Ocean world, you're next. Oh, actually, you're relatively inexpensive, so.
Upscaling complete.
Sadly, I can't turn it into any like the super cool stuff yet, but.
Upscaling complete.
Okay, so the Hythian League wants to declare war against our neighbors. I'm gonna say no on this one. It is a little tempting to sort of give them a bloody nose at the, to the benefit of my allies here. But it's really hard for me to see what I get out of that. Like, I don't particularly fear these guys already. But yeah, so with Fortnite, like, it was... yeah, actually, I was just trying to think of like a good example of a Paradox game that, man, they are really insistent on this. Because like Paradox publishes a lot of stuff that I enjoy, but I don't necessarily play a lot of.
Upscaling complete. Upscaling complete.
I'm thinking... So crew quarters isn't great here, but I probably should do that if I'm going to have a shipyard there.
Market outlier identified.
DTLF 915 has been partially hollowed out and carved with an exquisite precision. There is something familiar about the lines and curves etched into the rock. Alright, I'm actually really struggling to come here. I bet if I go on my list... Oh, here's a great example. I rather liked Battlefleet Gothic.
Outlier
I
identified.
can't really think of a lot of things that didn't work for me with Battlefleet Gothic. but my playtime in it is very, very small, and that's just because I have so many other options available to me in terms of games to play. So, one of the challenges that I sort of run into is, it's not just that a game has to be good, it has to be something that sort of fits my mood at the moment, and, I have it installed and so on and so forth. So in the case of Fortnite, it was a pleasant enough diversion. It was not like something I normally played, but it wasn't necessarily such a transformative experience that I was like, oh, I really need to try this now. And so when the Battle Royale came out, like, I'd already seen PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds, and I knew it was like the biggest thing ever, but it wasn't enough to, like, I didn't want to buy PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds. And then I finally eventually said, it's like, okay, well, I'll try a round of Fortnite, see what's going on, because it's, it's free to play. And it was sort of like, okay, I get it. It's, I just sort of think that, like, out of all of the shooter type experiences, Battle Royale may not quite be my thing. And I have a whole set of reasons for why that probably is. But with that in mind, I am hearing enough about Apex Legends, and keep in mind that this thing has only been out for a week, that I'm sort of like, okay, I really need to see what's going on with this, because, like, this seems to have gotten people who are not interested in Battle Royale interested in it. So I'm probably gonna, this is just a long way of me answering that, I'm probably gonna wind up on that train, like Sean Bean said. I'm gonna research this anomaly. We'll deal with the technology, and I think I need to call it for tonight, guys, because I'm a little over time. Not substantially, but I don't think we're going to make any substantial progress here, and I do have a couple of things that I need to finish up tonight. There will be Elder Scrolls, and it will be a proper length episode. It's maybe like a little short, but not like... It's not... oh wow, this was like a rushed one. Like, it was, okay, this kind of has a natural break point to it, which I think was a couple minutes shorter than what I normally want to do. But that'll be tomorrow at 7. But let me catch up with these, then I'll finish up with chat, and then we can find somebody to host. So, observing the Masteroid AKU 912, we have found something. Further investigation is warranted. Amoeba flagella. By breeding space amoebas in captivity, we can program their symbiotic flagella to act as organic strike craft for our navy. Don't really want a food processing facility because I know I'm not ever going to actually build it, but it's also the cheapest option, and it might unlock something. I don't think it'll unlock something else, but it'll remove it. So, okay. That is it for Rhizome Capital tonight. Okay, a few things about co-op from Galva. I am going to check that out, by the way, because that actually seems really interesting to me. Always found it surprising so little at the time the monetization for it seemed to be paying for new commanders that they would release. When you're hopping on the Apex Legends train, covered that. And I used to play Dota 2 rather competitively, but after your burnout from that, you think you just lost interest in most games in the category of MOBAs as well as Battle Royale. Well, like, the thing about MOBAs is that, like, I think they will always have a place. Like, I just happen to think that MOBA, like, at some point, the major, like... The major innovations cease to be made on RTS writ large, and the things that came out instead we called MOBAs. And I mean, they carried all of the features of RTSs, they just happened to have a different focus, and it was a little bit more on influencing events on the battlefield rather than having total control over all the units. And I think one of the great shames was Dawn of War 3 seemed to take some good ideas from MOBA games and put them back into a more traditional RTS in what I thought was a rather good game, but it clearly didn't find its audience. They pretty much stopped support for it after a couple of patches. So that's obviously a shame, especially because it's a product of Vancouver, which is where I lived for such a long time. But you know, obviously, people are gonna go follow through on whatever they like. But I mean, this is just, this is not really new. Like, turn-based strategy went away forever, and then like Firaxis came out with XCOM, and everybody remembered how awesome turn-based strategy was. There's always sort of ups and downs, and I honestly think it's actually a good thing, because it usually means that we get to see innovations happen in areas that are like, there's always a big prize for whoever sort of figures out an interesting new take on something that we sort of abandoned. And I don't think it's, I don't think it's a mistake that a lot of the really big games are having their origins in mods, because in the end, it's people who have a great love for a particular genre who kind of eventually turn around and say, it's like, I kind of wish I got a chance to see X. And, it just turns out that there's a bunch of other people who wanted to see X, and it turned out to be really good. And then, of course, you get people who come in with maybe a little bit more experience, and they further refine the genre. So obviously Dota All-Stars was a thing that got big, but League of Legends and Dota 2 were the behemoths. And then, similarly, you have Bluehole turning the mod into this premium game. You have Epic, which makes it a free-to-play game. They take all of this experience that they have for making sort of mobile and free-to-play sorts of things and turn it into Fortnite, and that turns into the biggest thing ever. And then Respawn Studio reminds everybody that they're really good at making games too, and they completely, steal the thunder of all the other competitors. So it's, it's fun. It's really fun to watch this stuff. Even if I don't play them, it's actually really fun to watch this kind of development happen, and to see how people improve on a given style of gameplay. So. Anyways, I'm sorry, and especially Galva, because I know you have a bunch of stuff that you wrote inside of chat, but I am actually getting a little tired, and I think I really want to properly host Cool Eagle tonight, who is playing XCOM 2. So on that note, I'm going to rather unceremoniously dump the conversation here. Thank you, everybody, for watching Stellaris, also hanging out, because obviously I just monologued a little bit on genres that are not grand strategy. For those of you who like Daggerfall, that'll be happening tomorrow at 7. For those of you who prefer Cultist Simulator, that will be happening Wednesday. Usual time, somewhere between 7 and 8 Eastern. And then Friday is a free day for me. We finished Mass Effect 2, and I'm definitely considering doing Mass Effect 3, but there is another BioWare title that's coming out on that day. Well, for some people, that's coming out on that day. And so I leave myself open to what I'll be doing on Friday. But anyways, I hope you guys had fun, and please do stop by the Cool Eagle. He has given me a lot of attention in the past, and he is actually a Stellaris player, but he's playing XCOM 2, which is like one of my favorite games ever. So please check it out. He's a great guy, and I love watching XCOM, so I'll probably hang out for a little bit longer. Have a good night, and we'll see you next time.